Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular scheduled board meeting for September 12th, 2017. I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before everybody seats, I'd just like to have a quick moment of silence for all of our first responders and people who were injured or killed during the September 11th and 16 years ago, and their families and their children who have been raised without fathers or without mothers, and also for all the people who have suffered as a result of Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma in Texas and Florida. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Slight modification to the agenda already. We're going to just change the order slightly and have Superintendent Larry Turk from the National Park Service give us a presentation. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Trustees, thank you for allowing us to come here to take up some of your valuable time. Scott Rector and I are wanting to reach out to the local communities to let them know that we're looking at increasing our fees at the home of FDR. Currently, they're $9, and we're looking at raising it up to $10, so it'll be a $1 increase. We provided y'all with a packet, and in that packet, it gives you a little more detail about the fee increase. Also, we provide information in there on projects that we're able to complete with fee dollars and how that improves the visitor experience to the local parks. But basically, it would just get us in line with the other historical homes and that around the local area. Right now, we're less than they are, and we're just trying to get up to them and help bring in some revenue to help maintain the parks. So real quick, if you all have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer. We're looking for pros, cons, concerns about the increase or not.
Have you always had to charge a fee, or is this something that's evolved over the last couple of years?
No, there's always been a fee. It's all of the parks in Hyde Park are fee parks. The other park I manage in Kinderhook is a fee-free park.
And the fee will enable you to see the museum area and the home all in one?
It does not. Our fee is only for the National Park Service, for the home of FDR. The library museum is ran by the National Archives and Records Administration, which they have their own fees. So right now, a combined fee for both sites is $18. And I do know that NARA is looking at raising their fee up to $10 as well. So it would be a combined fee of $20 to see both sites. Currently, Vanderbilt is $10, and Eleanor Roosevelt is $10. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a question? How does that relate to other presidential sites? Does that, they focus on one?
But that puts us right in line with the other presidential sites, other than Martin Van Buren, which is a presidential site, but that is a fee-free site, and that is purely based on the amount of visitation they get. We're getting 600,000 visitors a year, and Martin Van Buren is getting 20,000 visitors. So there's not the stress on the resources with 20,000 visitors versus 600,000.
So this is for 4 parks, correct?
One park. This will just be for the home of FDR.
Just the FDR. So Eleanor Roosevelt National Historic Site
Is already
there, and Vanderbilt, you said, is already there.
Yes, sir.
And Henry Wallace Visitor and Education Center.
Well, the Wallace Center, that is our visitor center. But the library and museum is its own fee because that's ran by NARA,
Okay.
National Archives and Records Administration. And they're currently $9, but the director did tell me when we increase ours to $10, they will also increase theirs to $10. So we're wanting to go out and get public comment, either way, for it or against it, so we can document it. We will also be holding a public meeting at the Wallace Center on September 20th. But Scott and I are going around to the local communities and meeting with the town leaderships and village leaderships.
How much does it cost to operate the park?
Oh, millions. If you look at what we have to do as far as preservation work on the home and the mansion, right now we've got $1 million projects out there rehabbing the mansion. Mansion basically has not been up to par for the last 2 years because of the renovations going on to preserve the mansion. And that they will be done October 13th. So this Christmas, we're gonna do a big, like, grand opening there with a gala. It's really gonna be decorated up nice to let the public come in and see, you know, what has taken place. But it costs millions of dollars to manage these places.
And so, just to be clear, this is for the house tour?
This is for the
grounds-
home, yes.
Right, so the grounds, you can still drive in, park your
Yes.
car, walk around, all of that remains?
For free.
This is just for taking a specific guided tour?
Yes.
Of the house?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanna make sure people-
Yeah, the grounds, to go walk the grounds is all free. This is just for the guided tour.
And for those of us who are now senior citizens, and with the extension of the $10 pass, if you apply, that applies toward getting in
Yes,
as well.
you would not have a charge with your senior pass.
So just a little plug for those who are 62 and older, if you purchase your $10
Yep.
lifetime pass, right?
Yes, that gets you into 417 national parks.
Yes.
Isn't there a deadline for going up?
It's already gone up.
It's already gone.
Yeah, it went to $80 at the end of August.
But that pass gets you into 417 national parks. And that's national parks, national historic sites, national battlefields, national recreation areas, national monuments. That's a keeper pass there. That's well worth $10.
Well, it's a great, I've taken a tour, and it's really, it's well done. It's really interesting to see the inside of the house, and everything from the chair to the little TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So, I mean, it's too bad you have to, it'd be nice if all these things could be free, but you have to do what you have to do.
You know, with tightening budgets, we're having to get creative.
Come over to our world.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. All right. If there's no other questions, I appreciate your time.
Any questions from the audience?
No question, but comment. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Turk. Okay, on to the next part of our agenda. I also want to just make a brief comment that we're kind of going electronic here. So you're going to see now devices on the table. This is part of a plan to get us to where we can start sharing information with you, the public, where you'll be able to walk into the meeting and click on a link and view it on any device that you have automatically, and you'll be able to look at all the data that we have at the same time that we're looking at it, which will be useful for you, I hope useful for you to also view. It'll also be on our website, and so you can look at it prior to the meeting and after the meeting. So in addition to that, we're cutting down on the time it takes our wondrous village clerk to prepare and print out hundreds and hundreds of pages for us to hold this meeting by going electronic. We're reducing paper, reducing labor costs, and hopefully sharing information with all of you in a better format. So bear with us. Tonight is our first attempt at really going wireless. We have some backup here just in case, but we're going digital. Okay, on to the next one. We have two public hearings tonight on the agenda. The first public hearing is on a community development block grant. So I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing for the community development block grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. All right, Trustee Lewitt will lead us through the discussion, and then I will open up the comment section.
Okay. Well, through the office of the mayor, Mayor Bassel, when approximately can I meet with the county?
Early.
Okay. So, Mayor Bassett was aware of the availability of community development block grants for making improvements, specifically in this case for helping with handicap access. This grant is administered by the county. So we had some of the county folks up to tell us what is possible and probable. And the project that we selected would be to create crosswalks at Market Street and Parsonage. And I have copies here of maps for the trustees, not electronic. Next time we'll get them. And I actually have a few.
Yeah, Rick, I have one.
Okay. Sorry. You want to pass it to Aaron? So the goal here is to improve access from the north side of town and the south side of town, bring them together, create a handicapped accessible walkway that would cross Market Street on the east side at Parsonage Street. We would also be improving two of the crosswalks, basically the now of North Parsonage and the one at South Parsonage. It is our goal to have fully ADA compliant crosswalks that mean there'll be a sign with some lights and striping and such on the ground. The idea being that we would be improving access. It's also obviously a route that our kids take going back and forth from school, so some added benefits as well. We can also, as part of the grant, do some sidewalk repairs on the north side, North Market Street, North Parsonage Street on the east side, and you can see they're indicated in green. It would probably include removal of 3 trees that are there, but in the plans that we are looking at, we would actually replace the bluestone sidewalk with sidewalk in kind, because we've learned that as part of the historic district, we have to maintain the historic district. And in doing that, we would put down what are called structural soils, which basically allow tree roots to grow freely underneath the sidewalks that don't heave. So even though it would be sad to lose those 3 trees, it would be with the idea that we would be replacing them in time. So that was that. We did get some cost estimates from our engineering firm. And basically, the grant is good up to $100,000. And for really the best of all possible worlds, with epoxy striping on the street, which lasts longer than painting and such, it would come to about $89,000. So within the grant structure, and our own village highway department would be contributing some labor by doing some of the preparation work, taking out the old curbs, milling the pavement, and basically getting the site ready. And then I'd just add that the signs that we're looking at are solar powered and wireless. So basically they can be put down next to the street, and we don't have to wire anything, we don't have to worry about all that. Basically they function independently and send a wireless signal when somebody pushes the button to cross. And just I should say, the timing of this is the grant will go in October. We will hear, I think, right around the first of the year. The money, if we receive it, is released in March. So any construction, if we do, would not be starting until April at the very earliest. So that's a picture of the plan.
At that, I'd like to make a motion to open the public comment period. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Come on up to the microphone.
Notes. Hi, Joanne Gell, 36 Mulberry Street. What is the criteria that you guys use to determine where to put crosswalks and these sidewalks? What criteria is there?
Back in 2011, there was a sidewalk survey done with a group of volunteers in the village and the county. And basically, they developed a plan for Rhinebeck to develop its sidewalks. Basically, here's the plan. This was released back in 2011, and this is one of the intersections they prioritized. You can see the red intersection here. No, actually, it's not on there. It's that piece of there. Sorry, it's not. It's over there. It's part of their second phase, but it is something that we can get done in time.
There was actually two criteria. In addition to being part of a previous study that was being done, which was beneficial for us, the second criteria is the area is divided up into income zones. And this had to apply to an area that was deemed by the county within the proper income zone to be able to be applied for the community development block grant.
And we're talking about Parsonage and Market. Is that primarily where we're talking about?
That's where the crosswalk would be going in.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only one crosswalk.
One crosswalk, okay, because there are a lot of rentals around there, you know.
Correct.
So that's where the income thing came in?
It was within the zone that we were allowed to use to apply the money for it. That's correct.
Okay. You guys know a lot better than
Yes,
I do.
no.
But I know that I've made requests, and so have some other people, for adults that want to cross Route 9 around Chestnut or Platt, and we have not heard back. But, and you know, look, I have a kid, I have grandkids, I love children, but we also have seniors here and adults. I heard, you know, or I read somewhere that this is taking into consideration to make it easier for the children to walk to school, which is a noble thing. When will you make it safe for us seniors to cross the street? That's all.
Yeah, very, very good point, because we identified several places in our discussions on where we could use crosswalks. This one happened to fit the criteria for this community development block grant, which we could go after the money for. I agree with you, we need several more crosswalks on Route 9. We need to recondition the one that's already there, that's hardly visible, to be able to see that I believe is at the end of Platt.
Near Terrapin. One near Terrapin.
Well, there's one in Terrapin, and there's one further down on Route 9 that you can hardly see anymore.
As far as
Yeah.
I know, there is none north of Terrapin.
Yeah, well, there was some paint stripes. but
There
they're
was?
pretty- Yes,
Okay.
and they need to be fixed. And also, in regard to Route 9, we are under more restrictions because of being Route 9. But this one fits in the criteria for this grant.
I just get a little confused because I understand Route 9 is county.
State.
So we have.
State.
State, okay. And what is Montgomery? Who
Well,
owns?
Montgomery's a village, but, well,
It's-
Route 9 is also called Montgomery.
Yeah,
Going behind the hospital, is that Montgomery?
Yes.
that's Montgomery, yes.
Okay, and that is a village road?
That's, yes.
Is it inappropriate at this time for me to ask you what the criteria is for determining where you pave or fix sidewalks?
No, not bad at all.
And I'm not
Paving-
putting you on the spot, you
Not-
don't even have to
That's
answer me
okay,
now.
because paving was based on the condition of the roads.
Has anybody been on Platt or Mulberry?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Just saying.
Actually, sure, actually. One of the things that I did when we got started over the summer is I asked John Fenton to actually put together the list of roads in order of need that we think we need to pave. And Astor and Montgomery were number one by far. They were the project, and they were the project that was.
Astor? Astor needed paving?
Astor was in terrible shape. But we were able to work with the town. Initially, we had looked at cost estimates of about $150,000 to do the project if we hired out contractors specifically. We worked with the town did part of the paving, and we're gonna bring this project in under $100,000, comfortably under $100,000. So one of the things that at least we can do, it gives us more money to pave. We can make our dollars stretch further. So I'm looking forward to getting the list from John about what our priority streets are. And then we're actually gonna try to put together a rotation for streets when they should be paved. And basically to be done in order of need as perceived.
So the town paid for part of this?
They didn't pay, no. They own a paver and a roller, and so their paver, their roller, their guys.
And what involvement was there with the hospital?
None. For the paving.
The hospital didn't donate?
They helped us out with some curb work and sidewalk work, but that's not part of the paving project. They're different, those are two different items.
Okay, so that is a paving project?
Which one?
The one that the hospital
No, the hospital helped us with some sidewalk and curbing.
helped us?
Yeah, they contributed money to help reconfigure the intersection at Montgomery and Astor so that people who were making a right off Astor were not undercutting the people making a left and creating a difficult traffic situation. And also recreating that for making it all ADA accessible.
And the traffic situation, you mean by the expansion of the hospital, which causes more employees? Is that what we're talking about?
That's, no. And that's not really part of the purview of what we're talking about here.
Oh, all right, thanks. I'll be back.
Can I just check this microphone real quick? Because I wasn't able to hear her at all. And I don't know if it's plugged in or if it just doesn't have a right angle.
Can you hear me now? Good now. Quick question about the block grant. I'm Michael Yanchenko, 19 Crossmore Road. Is this block grant, can you use it for paving, or are there other grants that you can go and possibly get for paving? Because it's getting pretty bad.
I'll give you a breakdown. The paving funds that the village has largely come from CHIPS, which is a name I don't know what it stands for. If anybody does? Anybody? CHIPS?
It's a state,
Right. it's a
highway,
state-
consolidated highway improvement project.
Something like that. So we get.
That's not it, it's a good one.
Right, yeah. So basically, the majority of our paving money comes from an allocation from the state. And the way it had been working, basically we had to save up for a couple of years because our allocation was $30,000, $40,000 a year. The previous board was saving up, they wanted to save up to $150,000 so they could pave Astor and Montgomery. Of course, if we're not paving there, we're just cold patching it or putting stuff over, I should say impermanent fixes. So one of the nice things about the fact that we brought this project in at under $100,000 is that it's going to give us, we will receive more money to pave more mileage next year. So we'll be receiving another CHIPS allocation sometime next year, and then we'll add it to the money that we saved, and then we're going to start looking at paving. The community development block grant is for a very specific purpose. Yeah, basically these are basically very very limited as to what they're covering, And at least in my experience now that I'm kind of learning how to work with these things tend to be targeted very finely. You know, people don't like to say, "Oh, give me $100,000, and we'll do something nice with it." In this case, this is specifically a project that has to help with disabled access, helping to make the village more barrier-free or barrier-free, specifically with the money as well.
Okay, and just a quick addition to the criteria issue for paving. I'm assuming that, and this is what I think you need to clarify, that just because a street has a lot of potholes in it, that's not the only criteria. There's also usage and I'm assuming rights of way and things like that. The street I live on is a mess, but it doesn't get nearly the traffic that Astor and Montgomery get, and I assume that's got to be part of the reason why it hasn't been fixed in so long.
I can't answer for the past. I don't know where the priorities came from.
I understand.
Yes, there is some sort of magic mix that we used to figure out.
I know where you live.
No, generally we're looking at condition of the road, obviously usage and how trafficked it is. One thing that I did see is that there is Cornell University. They are sort of the paving gurus for the state, and they actually have a program and a survey protocol where you can go out and prioritize your streets. So we're looking at using that. It's basically free to use, but we need to get, what they suggest is hiring a summer intern to go out and survey your streets. So we may or may not be able to do that, but there are some. But yes, the criteria is generally surface condition and traffic.
Great, thank you.
One last question. I hate to go up there. What committee or who are the people that have gone out and looked at this and made these determinations? Because I'd like to go out with them. So, I wanted the crosswalk across 9 because we walk Astor. So I know the condition of Astor. Astor doesn't get trucks. Platt and Mulberry are deluged with trucks, especially having to do with the fairgrounds. So I'd like to know more about the process. As a citizen and as a resident, I should be more proactive.
Some of it will be working with the highway department. Some of it, I'd be happy to work with you. If you look at this map, getting crosswalks across Route 9 at Chestnut and Livingston are part of the high priorities, and mostly it's a question of figuring out where we, is there a grant? We have to figure out, is there a grant, some grant money that we can get for it? How much will it cost? Engineering. But in terms of why this one is being done before that, it's because basically we saw the money, we grabbed it, and we're going for it.
Maybe I'll inherit $100,000 and I can get my street paid.
No question.
What? I'm not going to inherit.
Any other comments? I'd like to make a motion to close the public comment section.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I believe we can now also vote on moving forward in terms of the resolution. Correct? I have it. I printed it out. So this time I would like to read the resolution authorizing the submission of the 2018 Community Development Block Grant application. The activity is building handicap accessible crosswalks, whereas the Village of Rhinebeck is participating in the 2017 Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant Consortium. And whereas input from the citizens and groups has been received and considered, and whereas an application has been prepared which addressed the community concerns, now therefore be it resolved that the 2018 application to the Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant Program for the municipality, including the certification therein, is approved. Be it further resolved that the submission of the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development is authorized. Motion made by myself, Mayor Gary Bassett. I'd like to have a second.
Second.
Second by Rick Lewitt. All in favor?
Do we have discussion first?
Yes, you would like, yes.
Yeah, do we have to spend money on engineering for this? Or,
It gets applied to the grant. So yes, the initial upfront, which I asked for at the last meeting for permission to spend engineering funds to get the initial design work done and the cost
we
estimate.
did that last meeting?
Yeah, we did that at the last meeting.
Was that like, how much was
We don't have it in the we have it in the estimate.
I have an estimate, basically,
And it all does come out of the grant, which is nice.
Right.
Engineering is $15,000 for the.
but we're not gonna move forward on that unless we get the grant.
Correct.
Right. Oh, this is almost.
This is the application for the grant.
So there's no, it doesn't cost anything to do the application?
No, application's free. We do it up. We're getting assistance from the county, which is nice.
Right.
And basically, I'm putting that together, and it'll go up in early October, if not early.
Okay.
So yes, and the one thing is there is that we are providing some in-kind labor with our village guys doing the demo.
So we don't have to have an engineering study to apply for this grant?
No.
No, we will.
Well, we have to have the engineering now. I don't know what you mean by study.
Well, we have to show
Well, that's what I was getting
the
at.
county, I know that's what you were trying to, you were getting at. We have to show the county what our plan is.
Yes.
And we
From
have
an
that.
engineering standpoint, so we put the money out first with our engineers, and then we get paid back later, or if we don't get the grant.
We're not gonna do detailed plans and specifications.
Yeah, this is-
Right, this is just basically on the, this is basically for them to do the cost estimates, figure out what's necessary, and basically take from there. Once if we get the grant, at that point, then we put out a full RFP, and then we worry about, all the elevations and all that kind of stuff.
And that's where the 15,000 comes into place.
And
Yes,
also,
but you're correct. We do have to spend a little bit of engineering money to
Right.
get the cost analysis to be able to apply for the grant. You're absolutely correct.
I mean, I think it's good we've done already done 4 of these since I've been around. We did the 2 on 9 and then 2 on Market Street, so we're just continuing to make this better, and eventually we'll get to your neck of the woods.
I mean, I think one thing you have to realize that we have to have a cost. You have to, in order to apply for the grant, you have to be able to show what stuff costs.
I know, that's right, that was our question. We
Yeah,
have to spend money before.
Yeah, you
To
do.
apply for the
You
grant,
do,
we have
you
to spend
do.
money.
You do, but we're not, right, but I mean, I haven't seen the bill yet, but I'll find out next meeting, I'll tell you, I'll figure out, I'll ask them to itemize it out and see what it costs.
Mhm.
But it wasn't, from a time point of view, I probably met with 2 folks in Crawford for an hour and a half. And then they basically were able to turn this around pretty quickly. So, expect a little while.
Any other discussion? I'd like to make a motion that we vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. We'll submit for the block grant. Thank you, Rick. The next public hearing is, pull up my spreadsheet here a second. Is a public hearing for the, I'm going to read it here. Changing of parking on the corner of South and Market Street for a drop-off and pickup for the Rhinebeck Community Nursery School and Dutch Reformed Church. Looking for my description of it here.
I've got it.
No, I have that part.
Oh.
I have that part. I'll read the resolution because it'll be a little bit more clear. But in summary, it's the name of the streets are on South Street, north and south, from 9 a.m. to 9:30, from Mill Street for 123 feet, and 11:45 to 12:15 east for 123 feet. So there's 2 times, one for a drop-off, one for a pickup. And this, because we're changing the parking, we need to do a public hearing for that section. So the resolution, which I can read in after we open, I will make a motion to open for the public hearing for the amendment of Chapter 109 Vehicle and Traffic Code for parking, pickup, and drop-off by South Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay.
Slow
I
on
was,
the eye.
I was watching this like that.
All right, so I'll read the resolution so it makes a little bit more sense for everybody, and then we'll open up the comment section. Whereas the attached amendments of Chapter 109 Vehicle and Traffic Code was introduced by the Board of Trustees at the Village of Rhinebeck on August 22nd, 2017, and whereas a public hearing to be held today, September 12th, at 7 p.m. at Village Hall, 76 East Market Street, Rhinebeck, New York. Notice of said hearing duly published, at which time all interested parties have an opportunity to be heard. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck determined this action to be a Type 2 action based on the criteria found in 6 New York NYCRR Section 617.5 C16, and therefore has determined that there is no adverse environmental impact associated with the adoption of this local law. So then it goes on, now therefore be enacted to the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck do the following. It's an amendment to the Village Law of Rhinebeck, local law number, which will be numbered here, of 2017, Vehicle and Traffic Regulation Amendments, additions to Section 109.51, and Section 17, name of the street is South Street. The side is both the north and the south side of South Street. The times are from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., 11:45 to 12:15, Monday through Friday. And the location is from Mill Street, 123 feet east. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to open the public comment section for this public hearing.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Open for public comment.
This was a request from the,
Yes. So we can discuss it. This was a request that was submitted over a year ago by the Rhinebeck Community Nursery School. Make sure I get that correct. And which has been sitting that we needed to act on. So having heard no comments from the public, I'd like to make a motion to close the public comment section.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I'd like to make a motion now to close the public hearing for this resolution.
Second.
Opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you. Now I'd like to make a motion for the resolution that we just read into the record for the change of the parking. And so I'd like to make that motion. Have a second?
A second?
And any discussion by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. That closes the public hearing section for today. And now I'd like to move to our legislator, Joel Tyner, please.
Mr. Mayor, board members. Come very good. So, The handouts are, I don't know if I talked about this last month, but for many years off and on, I've been pushing innovative kind of ways to help start local businesses, microenterprise, to help the small businesses that are around stay around. I may have talked about how in Seattle and San Francisco they have a legacy business program aimed at protecting long-time, independent small businesses. And so that book, I'm not doing my radio show Saturday mornings until the middle of November, but a couple of months ago, this guy named Darryl Parovitz, the author of that book, called in, known him for a little while. He's one of the top leading experts in the country on sort of innovative ways for local economies to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Full disclosure, I'm looking to start a book discussion club sometime this month, next month, November, whatever, sometime this winter or fall, based on that book, and there's another 15 of them. It's called Principles for a Pluralized Commonwealth by Darryl Parovitz. So the Northern Duchess Alliance came out with this report 9 years ago, saying locally owned import substitution, a blueprint for economic development. Let's try to see where our money is being spent on companies and corporations inside Dutchess County that are owned and controlled far outside of Dutchess County. The money, and 3 years ago, actually, Dick Herman's Oblong Books was a part of this, but Rethink Local, Oblong Books, they found that if we just market shift 10% of what we spend as consumers from chains to independent stores, we would have literally $500 million kept in the regional economy. 475. So what does this have to do with anything? I'm doing a forum on this. You're all invited. It's going to be on Tuesday, October 3rd at 6 p.m. I had to change. I'm not doing something on the 15th or the 22nd at Town Hall. This month we had to change it. So the Small Business Forum is going to be Tuesday, October 3rd at 6. And you're all invited. If you go to tinyurl.com/New Economy Duchess, there's a bunch of small business owners and other people from around the county signed on to that. Mr. Mayor, you're probably aware of this. You asked me to reach out to the county. I did. I have a feeling that you really didn't need me to do it anyway, but even just last night at the county legislature meeting, the Public Works Commissioner, maybe it was Thursday, said that they are really going to try to have a charging station here for electric vehicles. He mentioned Rhinebeck. And I tried to get an amendment passed so that it wouldn't just be 4 charging stations put in. For the last couple of years, Ulster County has had 9 through the county government. We have a lot more people in Dutchess than Ulster County, so I'd like to see. I had Mickey Struinsky co-sponsor my amendment, but so it's only 4 being put in for the charging for the electric vehicles. But at least those stations are happening. And that resolution passed last night. That's something I've been pushing for about a decade. I was pleasantly surprised over the last week or two to get some bipartisan support on a couple things. DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Alan Sermon, who's not a Democrat, is a Republican from Dover, and Mickey Struinsky signed my letter last night saying that these kids are here, these young people are here, and they shouldn't be booted out of Dutchess County. Also, John Tomes, who's not a Democrat, he's a Republican from Pauling. He's a county legislator. He and I are trying to do something about the fact that in Millbrook, on county property, the county infirmary property, there's a poorhouse there. There's a guy named Robert Schofield, who's an African-American gentleman who walked 30 miles west to Sullivan County because nowhere around here would let him join the troops to fight in the Civil War. And he's buried on county property. And the DPW is going to drop the ball on this, unfortunately. Promises have been made. There are hundreds of unmarked graves. The Poughkeepsie Journal's written about it. The Associated Press has written about it. Across the river, the Ulster County Poorhouse Cemetery, they're way ahead of us. And so I'm hoping that bipartisan support for that will build. I also wanted to invite you Tuesday, September 26th at Rhinebeck Town Hall, just across the way at 6 p.m. Dr. Eben Goodstein, who's the director of the Bard College Center for Environmental Policy, Pramila Malik from Protect Orange County, and Joanna Fowler of the Dutchess County Progressive Action Alliance. We're doing a forum on Cricket Valley. We're talking about literally 400 tons of nitrogen oxide, volatile organic chemicals, particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, sulfuric acid mist, and formaldehyde. Some really nasty chemical stuff being put into our air, and 1,100 megawatt frac gas power plant that we do not need. So if you go to tinyurl.com/stop Cricket Valley, but It may be a Dover issue, but guess what? We all breathe the air. And it's only about 30, 40 minutes away from here. So that forum is going to be Tuesday, September 26th, 6 p.m. at Rhinebeck Town Hall. Our next Repair Cafe is going to be Saturday, October 14th, noon to 4 p.m. At Rhinebeck Town Hall. Jewelry is getting fixed for free. The town highway superintendent, Barry Sherrod, is coming out to help us again. We have a welder, Vince Murray, on premises, licensed massage therapist. You name it, get your clothing fixed for free. That's going to be our 20th one we did over the last several years. So it's Saturday, October 14th, noon to 4 p.m. Rhinebeck Town Hall. If you go to repaircafehv.org. And the only other thing I was going to say is, kind of tears my heart out listening to Joanne, because we have a $59.6 million county fund balance. $59.6 million county fund balance. And I'm glad, just last night we unanimously passed the $100,000 for the Legion Park, the Community Development Block Grant. I know that was bipartisan, Republicans and Democrats, people of different parties, on the village board. But we have a $59.6 million budget surplus, fund balance. That's literally triple what it was from 1996 through 2012. And it's largely because Rhinebeck and Clinton have lost $500,000 in county sales tax revenue to the county over the last 4 years. City of Poughkeepsie's lost $9 million. We're suffering, and the county is sitting high on the hog. So it's unfortunate that there are very real, pressing, urgent needs that municipalities like the Village Rhinebeck could use an extra $100,000 to make sure that crosswalks are taken care of, all the crosswalks, and all the streets are paved. So I'm just giving some, because the media doesn't really report about that too much. But there's a lot of innovative stuff. I'll just say one last thing. I live in the town of Clinton. I went to high school in Rhinebeck. There are zombie properties in the town of Clinton. There are zombie properties here in Rhinebeck. It's not just Beacon or Poughkeepsie, abandoned properties. And I'm just asking everybody to go to albanycountylandbank.com, because they're doing something in Albany County that we should be doing here. They're buying up abandoned properties, putting them back on the market. There's no reason, stuff like what Hudson River Housing is doing, but they're not funded properly, adequately enough. So I'm just asking everybody, because I can't do this alone, please check out albanycountylandbank.com. Because my constituents in Clinton are coming to me and saying, there's zombie properties here locally. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Joel. Next on the agenda are department reports. This evening, our treasurer and chief financial officer, Karen McLaughlin, is attending a seminar, so I will read into the record the fund balance reports for her. I'd like, if you all, it was too much to read off the screen, so I had to print out, so thank you. For the all funds for the period ending 9/30/17, the year-to-date amount was $578,088, and against a budget of $2,359,097. For our revenue account, the year-to-date amount was $1,630,081.27, against a yearly budget of $353,097. Our water fund, the right page here. Water fund year-to-date amount is $192,303.34 against a budget of $961,636. Our sewer fund year-to-date amount $122,476 against a budget of $809,923, and that closes everything in total. And there was a revenue account, $165,042 against $809,923. That's our water, that's our monthly operating statement. Make a motion to accept the operating statement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We also have water and sewer funds. The water and sewer funds are detailed out. There's several, I believe the liaisons have had a chance to review both water and sewer funds. I'd like to make a motion to approve both for the water fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Also like to make a motion to approve the expenditures as so listed for the wastewater account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Would that include the adjustments? or-
Yes, that was, I'm sorry, I didn't
Okay.
say it. That was the adjustments that were listed. Next part of our discussion is a fund balance policy. If you were here last month, we discussed a policy for kind of what our legislator Joel Tyner was just talking about, which was a fund balance. We are currently have a fund balance, that we're developing, that we've been working on for quite some time as part of our monthly budget. And last month I read into the record a fund balance policy. One of the major portions of the fund balance policy, though, was to talk about, I'll read this section, a minimum unassigned fund balance. It is the goal of the village to achieve and maintain an unassigned fund balance in the general fund at a fiscal year end ranging from X to Y, which is where our discussion was last week, and that's a percentage. The subsequent years, based on the subsequent year's budget expenditures. This minimum fund balance is to protect against cash flow shortfalls related to the timing of projected revenue receipts and to maintain a budget stabilization commitment. So at our last monthly meeting, we discussed, and I would like to continue that discussion on what is the appropriate range for a fund balance within percentages. We do have a statement from our treasurer and chief financial officer. I'll read this into the minutes. Treasurer McLaughlin serves on the Downstate Council for the New York State Government Finance and Officers Association. The mission of this association is to strengthen the capacity of government finance professionals and to maintain public finances effectively and responsibly, and to use the collective experience of its members for the public benefit of enhancing government efficiency and accountability throughout New York State. On September 6th, we hosted here in the village of Rhinebeck a breakfast meeting for all of the New York State members of this association. It was a small, but it's a very diverse group that consists of town, county, and villages represented, and also represented by a bank. Topics discussed were budgets, tax caps, salaries, insurances, and policies. One of the topics was the fund balance policy. It was agreed that 25% of our budget, which is relatively small to that of the county, compared to even larger municipalities, was a good percentage. Another suggestion was to target an amount opposed to the percentage, in other words, do a fixed number. So that's what that means. Treasurer McLaughlin and our chief financial officer takes a conservative stance, and with her recommendation is made the recommendation of 15% to 25%, leaving a path in the middle for stability and consistency. Open for discussion.
I responded that I agree with her. With her range.
With the 15 to 25%.
Yeah, 15 to 25%.
Mr. Mayor, was that 15 to 25 or was it 20 to 25?
No, in our original policy it was 15 to 25. We had discussion of 20 to 25, 15 to 20, 10 to 25, I believe was one recommendation as well. So we were kind of all over, but the real portion of this is to give us a range so we can maintain stability.
And she's recommended 15 to 25.
She's recommended 15 to 20, our chief financial officer has recommended 15 to 25%. Any other recommendations or suggestions?
Well, I know we've been pretty low before, thinking maybe 12.
12%?
Discussion. I think Gary mentioned 12 last month.
I said 18. I was at 18.
12 to 18, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So I'm just suggesting 12 to 25.
Well, I think, Brent, one of the things about it is that you could go lower. Really, this is a trigger point to have a public discussion,
It is.
in a way, right?
Right.
So the question is, where do you want to set the public, where do you want to set that trigger point?
Well, I mean, our budgets are public discussion, but
Well, you have to redo this
we have to do this,
It's not-
redo the,
it's not
res- that's right, and I don't
policy.
necessarily want to get hamstrung by redoing this when we go into leaner times,
Right.
which is
So, as a policy,
possible.
what weight does it carry?
We would have to take action at a board meeting to amend the policy, but we would not have to have a public hearing to adopt the resolution for it. But it forces fiscal responsibility on us to consider that and then be public with it.
Right.
Where now we do not have that.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, we do not have a fund balance policy today. It just doesn't, it doesn't exist. I also brought this up, I mentioned last time I was at the Dutchess County Association of Mayors and Supervisors, and we went around the table and asked them, and it also varied, as much as you saw the variation here, because it's really dependent on everybody's budget, what kind of projects they think they need to do, and what they think their future is for their municipality. But this really forces us to try to live within a range and hold that range to protect us, everybody here and the village. I'm gonna amend what I said, which was 12 to 8 last time, and go with the recommendation of our chief financial officer, also 15 to 25, giving us that as a broad range that allows us.
I mean, it's not saying that in an emergency you can't do this, but basically what it says in emergencies, you're going to have a basically a open board discussion about going below this number. It's really to inform the public is really the purpose of this.
It's not to drill further down into Treasurer McLaughlin's recommendations, but I am looking at an email where she actually does, Mr. Mayor, support your 12 to 18%, your recommendation 12 to 18% is a good one, but in this email she says, or 20 to 25%. So maybe the 15 to 25 is good.
Well, it gives us a little bit more.
Yeah. Interesting that despite all the outreach from both the treasurer and from your own experiences, there's no firm number, no one can point to it, so.
I seem to recall years ago reading that there was a median that was even around 11, during leaner times.
And I tried to research that too, because I also remember, there was kind of a number that says you should be within.
It wasn't you should be, it was actually just where people were municipalities were at, so.
And that seems to have changed, doesn't exist anymore. Even from NICOM, representation, which are legal advice, there's no they said it's up to us.
I'm inclined to support the 15 to 25%.
I'll support, I won't be a killjoy, I'll go along, rather than 12.
Well, the only thing you wanted was 12 to 25. Right?
Well, 25, so we're close.
Yeah.
That's why I'm willing to vote for
Want to
it.
go with 13 and a half?
I take half loaf, very frequently.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the Village of Rhinebeck proposed fund balance policy with a range of 15 to 25% of our fund balance.
I second.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you all. Thank you. This is an important thing for the village of Rhinebeck, that makes us live within some sort of fiscal responsibility and sets a standard for everybody else. So, thank you for your diligence. Next, we're going to go on to the police and courts. For the police, I'll read in the police report. Total number of incidents for the town was 26. Total number of incidents for the village, 134. Total number of tickets for the town, 36. Total number of tickets for the village, 60. Total number of arrests was 7. Total number of incidents was 17. I'd also like to make note that a speed trailer has been set up on East Market Street near Cosmore Drive. That was from August 22nd. There were a total of 1,617 cars on East Market Street. The average speed was 40 miles per hour. Total vehicles above the 30 mile per hour was 1,453. Majority of the vehicles traveled between 36 and 45. We also set the speed trailer up on East Market Street near Crosmore Drive on the 24th from 10 a.m. to noon that day. Total number of cars, 1,409. Average speed, 39 mile per hour. Total vehicles above the 35 mile per hour speed limit was 1,265. Majority of vehicles traveled between 31 and 45. We also set the speed trailer up on South Parsonage near North Park Road on 8/25 from 2 to 9 p.m. The speed trailer is set up in that location in response to a complaint of vehicles traveling at excessive rate of speed. Total number of cars were 499. The average speed was 26 miles per hour. Total number of vehicles above the 30 mile per hour speed was 297. 0.5%. Majority of vehicles were between the 21 mile per hour and the 30 mile per hour vehicle, which was 364. Dutchess County Fair summary from August 22nd to August 27th for the police. Number of calls was 58. Number of accidents, 8. Number of arrests were 2. That closes the police reports. Fire department report.
It's scary.
Sorry, you have a question?
Okay, no.
Also, let me read the report first. For the month of August, and I'd like to also take time for anybody who doesn't know our chief, Kyle Amy. Please take time to get to know him. He does an excellent job at running the village fire department. So thank you, Chief. Call for the month of August 2017. There were a total of 94 calls. I'd just like to state another thing. These guys are on track for exceeding 1,000. I'm sorry, Chief, is that over 1,000?
Over 1,020.
Over 1,020 at this rate. That's significant. Now, this covers not only the village of Rhinebeck, but also our protective district, which is into the town of Rhinebeck, correct? So for the month of August 2017, there were a total of 94 calls, 22 fire calls, 68 emergency medical service calls, EMS, and 4 motor vehicle accidents. They responded to mutual aid depart 6 times. The ambulance did not respond to 14 calls during this time period, 3 while the ambulance was out of service, and therefore our response percentage was 80%. There was a brief short-term accident with the ambulance when they were on a call and they actually ran over, I believe it was a stone at the end of a driveway and trying to back out very, very late at night. And then the stone was invisible and it did just some minor damage to the ambulance. It bent the muffler and bent some metal in the back, but that's all been repaired and was quickly put back in service. The fire department, this is significant too, the fire department will be hosting an open house, or what's called a wet down, for the new fire truck, number 5922, on October 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we'll be having more details on that following. That is also Fire Prevention Week, correct? No. And no other operations report. So that's the report from Chief Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. I'd also like to, as part of, again, there's a lot, so I'm going to summarize. But this comes from our police department and from our county. I'll hold this up because this is called Dutchess County Juvenile Fire Center, or J-Fire. okay? And it's really proposed by the county, and it's an intervention response and education for junior fire. So this was sent to our police department, and our police department is asked to have 2 people represent them. Well, the county has asked for us to send a representative, and I'm proposing that we send 2 of our police people. Part of this, which is part of the initial training before it rolls out to police, called fire. You would think it'd be fire, but it rolls out to the police first because they interact and do a lot with our schools and our SO officers at our school, and they can carry that education back. So I'm just going to read briefly some major comments. They are very happy to hear that our police agency is interested and want to be part of the Dutchess County Juvenile Fire Center's Intervention Response and Education Program called JFire. Since its inception in 2016, this multidisciplinary approach involving the county departments, mental health professionals, and police departments, and some of the fire districts have become a valuable resource for the community. On September 11, 2017, they sent a resolution, which I'll read in, I would like to have vote on tonight, and a request to the legislator. The county legislature has adopted this policy for JFire. In addition, they would like to have the Village of Rhinebeck, our police chief, the supervising authority of the village government body, sign onto the donation page and return and be a participant for the county at this level. As you know, they have signed it. We have an IMA, or intermunicipal agreement, that will be a 2-day intervention specialist training that will cost us nothing, which is good. And it's scheduled for Thursday, October 19th and Friday, October 20th. Be sure that this intermunicipal agreement put forth before your village board for approval as soon as possible so that they authorize participation and allow appropriate supervising authority, which is primarily our police department. So with that, I would like to read the resolution and then vote on it. Whereas this is an amendment to the intermunicipal agreement for JFire. Whereas the parties hereto made and entered into an agreement dated on August 31st, 2015, which is the initial conception of this, for the creation of Juvenile Fire Center's Intervention Response Education Program. Whereas the parties desire to amend said agreement upon the terms and conditions herein set forth, and now therefore it is mutually agreed by and between parties hereto that the county contract number 15-0296-ER dated August 31st, 2015 is hereby amended upon the following terms and conditions. The following municipalities are added to the JFire Committee: New York State Police, City of Poughkeepsie Police Fire Department, Village of Rhinebeck on behalf of the Village of Rhinebeck Police Department, City of Beacon on behalf of the City of Beacon Police Department and City of Beacon Fire Department, the Village of Fishkill on behalf of the Village Fishkill Police Department, and the Town of Fishkill on behalf of the Town of Fishkill Police Department. All other terms and conditions of the underlying agreement and any amendments thereunto not expressly amended or altered by this agreement and should remain in full force of this effect, dated if we agree today. So and this will be signed by the New York State Police and then all the appropriate people which I just named. So the purpose of this is for us to get 2 people trained for juvenile fire intervention at no cost to us, the village. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Building and planning.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. What we want to discuss tonight are changes to the code, to the village code. Mr. Mayor, I have, of course, had the pleasure of working with the planning board as the liaison for the 8 weeks since my appointment. And it was apparent very quickly to me that this was an ongoing, very active effort, and very much led by fellow trustee to my left, Brent. And I think it's probably best for me to pass the baton to trustee Brent, because he's really championed these changes. I can only, again, assert how important this is to the planning board. So I'd like to see if Brent could pick it up from there.
Thanks. So we had a draft presented on June 14, 2017 at a public hearing. And that night we took comments in the public comment period, and we made revisions to that based upon those comments, based upon more meetings with the zoning commission that's been sitting for over 3 years. And we got comments back from the county based upon our proposed draft. So I came up with a draft based on that, dated August 25th, 2017. The red line draft and my memo summarizing the changes from the June draft accompanied that, and Pat had posted that on, about 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago. So what I'd like to do is summarize, and this is really kind of dry, but I want to, again, highlight what the changes to the red line draft are in today versus June 14, 2017. So section 120-6, table 1, under room rental home, we changed special permit to permit in the residential and village center districts. There's about 18 things here, but I think it's best to just read these out. In section 120-6, table 1, we changed X, or not permitted, prohibited use, or special permit to permitted for the daycare family and daycare family group uses. That's based upon a letter we got from the state regulatory authority. Strike section 120-28C8. I actually read the first 3 or 4 of these items at the June 17th meeting, so I'm just repeating myself here. Number 4, replace the first sentence of section 120-17, bed and breakfast establishments and room rental home, with the following sentence. A bed and breakfast establishment may be allowed in an owner-occupied single-family dwelling, and a room rental home may be allowed in an owner-occupied single or two-family dwelling, subject to applicable special permit and site plan approvals in compliance with the following standards. Number 5, in section 120-17I, strike the words "as a condition of the special permit." 6, in the first line of section 120-13A1, replace the word "sound" with the word "steady sound." So this came up at that meeting in June. 7, in section 120-13A1, little a and b, change the hours from 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. So these are the daytime decibel levels. Also change 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., which is nighttime decibel levels. Also change 70 decibels during the daytime to 80, change 60 decibels in the nighttime to 70. So this is a concession to the group that was concerned about restrictions in the noise portion of these code changes. 8, add a section 120-19J, which provides the planning board may grant a special permit and/or historical designation for an existing sign with historical character after consultation with the Rhinebeck Historical Society. 9, in section 120-19I1, strike the words "repaired" and replace with the word "altered." 10, in the last sentence of section 120-29C, strike the words "and non-conforming use provisions." These all came out of the June meeting. 11, in the second sentence of section 120-39DI, strike the words "such as a home occupation or accessory apartment." Strike the word "considered" and replace with the word "encouraged." 12, add a section 120-47C16, which provides the site plan map shall show all sidewalks, curbing, and planting strip widths that comply with sections A 125-28 and A 125-29 road specs. 13, replace the last sentence in section 120-64, manufactured or mobile home, with the following: this use is not permitted in the historic overlay district nor on lots directly adjoining said district. That came from the county planning. 14, add the following sentence to section 120-46B2. Any real property within 500 feet of a farm operation in an agriculture district also requires review by the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. That's also a suggestion of the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. It's actually just jibes with the state law. 15, add the following words as the second to last sentence in section 120-64 application. Applications include permits and approvals beyond those solely for a building or structure, suggested by the county. that was. 16, under section 120-64, lodging facilities, strike the words bed and breakfast homes and replace with the words room rental homes. That was just a change because of a name change. 17, in section 120-14, all restrictions affecting the height of fence, gates, and vegetative screening have been increased by 2 inches. That's to accommodate manufactured materials which are exactly 6 feet high, and so the fence height is 6 feet, we need a little clearance, obviously. Okay. Then, 18, also in section 120-55D, the first sentence, add the word consecutive between 12 months. That's a provision that deals with discontinuance and abandonment. That was a suggestion by our attorney and the county. Okay, last, change 120-13A2 to this. 120-13A2. In the village center and gateway business districts, commercial uses shall not be permitted to have outdoor live music except as approved by the village board of trustees for specific events. Such uses may have outside speakers if approved under site plan review. So those last 3 items are not in the red line graph. Those are the latest, and I had to read them into, the record. And what I suggest is, since we've had 2 public hearings and we've been working on this on and off for 10 years, so we continue to have discussions on, everybody's preference, but I suggest we just pass this the way it is tonight. I think it's time. So don't forget, we have eliminated the short-term rental. We've removed the short-term rental discussion and put that into a short-term rental committee, which is discussing the changes to the bed and breakfast stuff and the big bed and breakfast / vacation rental stuff. So did that make sense? Did I?
Excellent,
say
yes.
that right?
And a perfect articulation of what's been, can only be characterized as something that's actively been in motion for years.
Yeah, there was a group that was formed in 2007 that got about halfway through the code. And so when we picked up this issue 3 years ago when I left the village board and basically immediately started on this commission, we started with that red line draft and then marched through the entire thing and got all the way through, and then it's been through so many revisions, and so many people have contributed over the years to this, including people like Rachel Kubel and Bob Fennell and all the people that were on the zoning commission. I mean, there's just too many people to thank for their content. And Francois, and just everybody. It's been great to be part of this. So.
Do you want me to receive any comment if there is? Or do you want to just go straight? You want to?
Well, I would not really want to open up the public hearing again.
Right, we're not opening it. All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Because we've had 2, and all these changes have been in response, to
Are you making a motion?
the issues of the public. I like to make a motion that we pass the law as submitted.
I second that motion.
Discussion?
Yeah, discussion. So, can you just clarify the speakers in restaurants?
Could you reread that?
Do you want to? Oh, I can't.
I missed, it wasn't in there.
All right, so. In the village center, and this is section 120-13A2, in the village center and gateway business districts, commercial uses shall not be permitted to have outdoor live music except as approved by the village board of trustees for specific events. And that's really close to the language we had. Such uses may have outside speakers if approved under site plan review.
So anybody who,
So if you had outdoor dining and you have, live music as people are dining.
right, live music and the speakers are different though.
Live music and the speakers are different.
So live music would mean they have to fill out an event form. That's kind of what we said in the past, right?
Yeah. That was what the commission was getting at there.
Okay, but
Okay.
this,
Yeah.
Are you contemplating like a single event form or maybe a seasonal event form? Because right now there isn't there's no such permit, right?
You know, we have, I mean, I have not been here for all these event approvals, but typically they are single events.
You can put on the event application and ask for the dates. What date?
There is, you can ask for multiple dates.
Because we did have an instance with the Pilates at the park, and she did it multiple dates.
Does this affect the farmer's market? I just want to know, do they need to put in a request?
For
music?
which?
For the music, they do music 2 hours a Sunday.
It's not a commercial, well, it's not, typically, it's not, it is in the village center district, it's not really a commercial use though. I mean, it's a, I mean,
Can we just
oh
put?
wait, no, that wouldn't be, yeah, you may, I mean, don't you guys do an event permit application?
I know I'm not on the board,
Right.
but I will find out.
Well,
No, they have, we have a
Right.
contract.
Well, we'll have to
we
see
a
about
contract
that.
With the farmer's market.
right,
There's a contract.
So then it's taken care of, they don't need to know.
I haven't seen, I mean, I'm not,
There's a contract with the farmer's market, they don't apply for an event application. I'm not sure about the verbiage in the contract, but
Can we clarify the outdoor live music and say they would need to fill out an event form?
I think it's, what is it exactly called? What is our event?
Speakers, there's speakers or there's an event.
Well, I know, we're talking, yeah.
What are you talking about,
I'm
speakers?
talking about events right now,
Yeah.
because they don't really know that they have to fill out an event form if they have live music. And speakers is another thing I wanted to talk about.
Well, how would you want to word it? I mean,
For something to the effect that if you want live music, you have to fill out an event form to be approved by the village board.
I think that's what it is.
we are,
That's what
except
it
as approved by the village board of trustees for specific events.
This is what we have today. In the village center and gateway business districts, commercial uses shall not be permitted to have outside speakers or outdoor live music except as approved by the village board of trustees for specific events.
It's
That's
the-
not the current law.
No, but it's been in this draft.
Right, that's in the draft.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading from.
No, but I mean, it's, what I'm saying is the language has been around since, what, June at least?
But as for speakers, I would like it to say something that, and everybody else can talk about this too. Speakers would be allowed for restaurants, because I know we talked in the past about not letting everybody in the village have a speaker coming out of their business.
Right.
So maybe if we could just say restaurants
Well,
could have outside speakers. And that's not an event, that's not live music, that's speakers.
but it's a commercial use under site plan review, so all that, and then 2 or 3 of the people on the commission are planning board members, and they thought that was an adequate control.
Could you read the verbiage again?
In the village center and gateway business districts, and commercial uses shall not be permitted to have outdoor live music except as approved by the village board of trustees for specific events. Okay, then such uses may have outside speakers if approved under the site plan review.
Right, so that's a site plan now. So everybody who has speakers now would have to go to have their site plan.
Well, unless they
reviewed.
could demonstrate they've been grandfathered in for,
Existing non-conforming uses,
If they can prove that, then they can.
although when they stop.
I think they can.
Yeah, I know when they turn them off.
they've been
Yeah.
playing music for 8 years, I don't know.
The only portion of this is to try to get some level of control over it, and that's really what it's for. So it's not free for all competing speakers.
So when you walk down the sidewalk, it's not like, it's
Well, I
a
know.
small world,
But that's why, if we would say restaurants are allowed to have speakers, not every business.
Yeah,
But, so now you're saying everything's grandfathered if they already have speakers?
I'm not making a determination on that. I would have to go look at some
Well, that's what you said you
cases
just said.
studied first before I said that.
It'll be up to the board.
It will get to the planning board.
Be up to the planning board.
Yeah.
think there's some ability for restaurants and or commercial businesses to come in and make their point. And
Instead of just doing it and then,
Yeah.
you know, having
I think we're opening the door.
I think we'd open the door if we change the language. We could allow speakers in restaurants, which basically most of them have already. So now you're saying they have to come back to the planning board to get a,
You could get a determination from the planning board on that, right?
Jonathan makes the determination.
Yeah. Or, you know, council.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think that's not what, it's not an enforcement issue that we're going after folks that are having, you know, noise that, or speakers that have already been on, if you're worried about that. There's been no inkling whatsoever that the planning board is interested in calling people in that are,
well, they have in the past. The zoning enforcement officer has.
in what circumstance?
Telling people that they're not allowed to have speakers.
Under current law, they can't.
Right, so
That's
now.
right, so this is more permissive.
This is more permissive.
Isn't there saying you can have it if you have it? Or do you want to have it permitted without any restrictions?
No, I'm just, you're saying they have to go back to the planning board
The site plan.
to get a site plan, new site plan, to have speakers.
Well, you know, come to think of it now, they wouldn't be grandfathered in if live music is prohibited somewhere in the code right now.
It is
But I-
prohibited.
Where is exactly?
I think it's in the previous code, isn't it?
Live music is currently not prohibited.
Or, no, I mean outdoor speakers.
Oh, I don't know about it.
I don't think it
That's
is.
Okay, well, maybe it's not.
That's not mentioned.
All I know is that restaurants have been told they have to take their speakers down in the past, because it's not in their site
Well,
plan.
if that's true, then this is more permissive.
This is more permissive?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because they'll get the ability to do
It gives them
No, but then they have to go change their site plan.
Yeah, they have to come forward with a site plan to put it in, yes. And then that's just from a control point, not a restriction.
I would say to submit a plan to show that what they're doing is reasonable, right? And then are you concerned that that's overly burdensome? Is that your concern?
Again, I can tell you what the risk is, again, that it's like going through the Disney ride, It's a Small World, and everyone's got different music coming out, or different pitches, or whatever coming out of their, you know, out of their retail as you walk down the street.
Everybody has it now. Most of the restaurants have speakers, but nobody really hears it.
And that's why I recall this discussion, why we wanted to do this site plan review allowance.
So you're saying it's more permissible?
I haven't read these site plan approvals from, like, these places that have been around for, so I don't know if they specifically allow live music or not.
Yes, I think it's more permissive than what the current code is.
Yes. Okay, well, maybe. If what you say is true, yes, because you're saying that the zoning enforcement officer has been able to say you can't have music, and they,
Because it's not in their current site plan.
I don't know,
Yeah, that's the truth.
okay.
Okay, so they're coming on their site plan.
So what I'm saying is they don't need a site plan. If they're a restaurant, they could have outdoor speakers at a certain decibel and stop at a certain time. That would be my proposal.
This isn't just about restaurants, it's about,
Well, that's
All
why you
commercial
can just,
Yeah, you're being restrictive to restaurants only.
right.
but I'm not willing, that was never part of our discussion. I mean, I don't.
I wasn't on your board, so I don't.
Well, I don't want, then it might be more restrictive than what you want.
So what you're trying to do is carve out, make it less restrictive.
What I'm trying to do is
for
keep what's
restaurants.
already there. Everybody has them already. It's not a secret. Everybody has them. Now, I don't want the zoning guy to go around and say, oh, you gotta come out and get a new site plan because you have a speaker that's been here for 25 years. You gotta go create a new site plan, which is a burden on the businesses.
Can you carve out an exception? So with site
Exception
plan
to-
approval, except for restaurants which may have outdoor speakers in accordance with the decibel limits set forth herein?
I don't, then we're just, that's a planning issue, and it gets so specific, it's like we're planning.
What Brent what Brent has presented has at least had the benefit of being reviewed by key members of the, the advisory council and committee, gentlemen from, representatives from the planning board. I think to try and parse anything else or cobble anything else together at this point,
I mean, there's,
we
you
have to
know,
have their consideration.
there's a lot of things in here, that a lot of us didn't get that we wanted.
Well, also,
But-
from reading this,
I mean, is that, it's gonna hold up the whole law, I mean.
well, I'd say if I'm reading this properly, section 2, you could have outside speakers as approved by the village board, so basically you have to just walk by, do an application.
No, the planning board.
Planning board, I'm sorry, okay, well, no, it
So
says
live
here-
music is the village board approval.
well, the way it's written, it would be
say-
speakers and music.
So this is a revision to
Yeah, that's
what's in the red line?
That's what you're reading.
Yeah,
I got it.
That's why I said the
It's not
last,
the one online?
the last three things that I read, I said were not in the red line, that
Ah,
actually
okay, I'm
Victoria
sorry.
brought up this issue.
Working so hard,
So we're,
okay.
What do you want to do?
one thing,
How do we,
Oh, there's a motion and a second.
yes, now we're in the discussion. And it's up to Fran if you want to amend the motion. Or not.
And that affects the whole, everything else, right? Just this one little thing.
yeah.
That's the board's.
I mean, if you have all the restaurants play music
But they
at
do already, nobody,
75
No,
decibels
no,
at 9:47 at night.
I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but they already do. And nobody hears it. But if we can have something in writing saying at
I
a certain.
can't, because what I just said is if I put it in writing, it'll almost give them license to crank it up to 78 decibels at 9:45 at night. You know what I mean? It's almost like it was clean before. I mean, I just think that was a cleaner paragraph than trying to.
And I don't think we should put the restriction on just allowing restaurants, because we're talking about the commercial district.
Yeah.
I don't think, and we know restaurants are doing it, but we've had requests, as you know, from other commercial establishments also wanting to do it.
Well, I don't want to hold everything up, but I said my piece. So it's on the record, it's on the tape, it's on Panda.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of work.
10
Right,
years
John.
worth of work.
Yes. John, you want to go on and talk, you're going to read in the report, or this report?
Oh.
Or planning, it's normally read into the record.
The Planning and Zoning Board, Planning and Zoning Building Monthly Report for August 2017. I won't go through every detail other than to say that it does cover building department CO searches and reports revenue with these $700, building permits $5,500, planning board site application fees $1,050, zoning board variance application fee $200, and then the minutes themselves cover the applicants that sought approval from the planning board on the August 1st meeting. And
That's everything.
that is everything.
There's the rest of your.
Yes, the only other thing that I would like to just read in is that at the planning board meeting of this past week, last week, Tuesday the 5th, the mayor led a discussion regarding the electronic vehicle charging stations. It's short, so I will read very quickly. The mayor led the electronic vehicle conversation and specifically focused on concerns and questions that have been voiced by the planning board during their August 1st meeting. And the issues included the planned location of the charging units, the installation process, the projected costs, signage, lighting, and the experiences of neighboring towns and villages who already have existing units. The mayor emphasized the village board's desire to keep the planning board informed on this topic and engaged no objection during this proceeding and this discussion. But in a separate and related topic, everyone, the planning board, the mayor, myself, who was with Mayor Bassett, all agreed that there is a strong desire to find new and additional parking spaces for residents and visitors. And that's really it. The other items have already been covered by Graham.
Thank you. Highway Department.
Okay. I seem to be able to summon this on my phone, but not my pad. I got it from here. So basically, the monthly report is the department has out been doing catch basin repairs. They've installed new risers and metal guards, cleaning them, brush removal, mulch deliveries, park cleanup and maintenance. In terms of major jobs completed, Astor, Montgomery, and Mill Road resurfacing, that's been completed. The Astor Montgomery curb and sidewalk has been, the configuration's been completed. And also the West Market Street sidewalk project has started, and it is scheduled to be completed the week of September 18th. In addition, I have a note from the Superintendent of Public Works that if you have, this is basically for people who put up yard sale signs. Yard sale signs are supposed to be only put up on the lot where people are actually doing the sale. And people have been putting signs up around the village. And one major concern is that they're not reclaiming them at the end of the weekend. So just like to have that as a public notice to folks.
Can I make any comments?
Sure. Come up to the microphone.
Tell us who you are.
All right.
I'm Brenda Bassett, and I have a comment about your yard sale signs. Nothing's been enforced about yard sale signs for years since I've been living here. And last year, I am a member of Third Lutheran Church, and we have a fall festival, it will be the weekend of the 23rd, which happens to follow the big yard sale that Good Shepherd has. And last year, we have some professional signs made that cost over $100. We posted them like within a block of our own church, which is on Livingston. And someone complained, they got picked up and got thrown out. And it cost a lot of money to replace these. Nobody has taken down any other signs any other weekend throughout the summer. It just so happens that our church's yard sale or fall festival falls right after a huge one when there are signs all over the village. So I'm kind of wondering now, will my church's signs be removed again and thrown out? And you're saying I can only post them on my church property?
The way the law is written, it says here, prohibited signs, any off-premise signs that advertises, establishes, sale, products, services, and entertainment events that are not present or sold or distributed on the lot where the sign is located. So
why have all these signs been allowed up all summer long?
Well, I think that's what we're trying to start to enforce.
And you're going to enforce that now, starting right now?
Well, I think we're trying to give out a warning to folks.
Okay,
first.
so I guess I'm questioning, where will my signs be allowed to be posted?
Well, for now, it would be on your property.
And that's fair, that everybody else throughout the entire summer was allowed to post them all over the village, and now I can't.
It's hard for me to judge fair. I have to enforce the law as what it's written.
Well, the board last year addressed this and told me, I was under the impression of the previous board and mayor, that I would be allowed to post signs this year.
previous board?
That's true.
Okay.
We did have a discussion at the same time last year in regard to sign placement, right after this
After this hoopla of everything being thrown out.
current week. And the discussion did not amend the law, but the discussion did say that we would be more lenient on for garage sales,
Okay.
or rummage sales, whatever you want to call them. But they needed to be put up the day of, or the day before, and taken down the day after. I don't know if Howie, you remember this discussion?
Yeah, maybe something like that, yeah.
So we kind of, said, we understand the law, but we're going to kind of help people within the village be able to do this, and that was what we talked about last year.
I think your problem is the people that don't remove the signs,
Yeah.
Yes, that's,
They're the ones.
they're the
Yeah.
ones you should be after.
So maybe we should have a new law written.
we can, I think we could clarify, but what you're getting, what you apparently the past board has said is the intent of the village, first of all, the zoning enforcement officer doesn't work on weekends.
Oh, but he was
Okay.
sincere.
I think that it sounds like what the intention of the board was. It sounds like if for signs that are posted day of, not on your property, that's at least sounds like it's going to be tolerated. And people have a day's grace to remove them. So it sounds like that was the sense of the prior board. We probably should look at revising the law. But if that's
Okay,
the
so
direction
what-
from the
what-
prior
what's-
board, I think that still stands.
Okay,
So
so
I'd just
I,
like to confirm with Howie that you agree, did you remember?
Yes, I do.
I do.
So there's three of us that kind of agreed on the previous board that
Yes.
this was a discussion.
I just want to know that my $100 signs aren't going to be removed the day of my sale and thrown out like they were last year.
The one thing I do remember is, and I know you didn't do it, Brendan, that they could not be on telephone poles, because telephone poles are off limits.
Ours are on, that's why
I
they're
know, that's
$100
what
on
I
this
just want,
pre-made.
that was the one thing that was
forms.
specific, but I do remember,
Right.
because they're up for such a short period of time, like the day before and the day after, that,
So we have to change the law to say that, not right now, everything's okay. But I'm just talking about a future law, we can change and
To make it,
the day of, and has to be down.
The day after, or whatever.
And then the zoning enforcement officer can go around Monday and find if they're still up. Then he can
So
find people, because he knows.
What's going to happen for me this one weekend, the 23rd?
I think you've already heard this on the board.
Well, I mean, the law's not going to get changed before then, so I just want to know for sure that these signs won't be removed.
I think you've heard the consensus of the board.
Okay.
You heard it, Brenda.
I
It's
got
on
it.
band.
It's on that.
I just want to add a comment that I think we should enforce, if we're going to have a law, we need to enforce the law. And we haven't been enforcing the law. And so we either do or we don't, one or the
Right.
other. So we have to make a decision. If we're going to decide to enforce the law, then it has to be year round, not just wait till the end of summer. Now, we got to,
Okay.
we're giving a buy for a lot and then punishing those that are after.
I understand, but this is,
Yep.
you're right, this is the memo I
So-
received from the highway department.
I will communicate this to the zoning enforcement officer that and there will be some restrictions, that there are sign restrictions, just to be aware. There are specific sign restrictions in terms of size. There are restrictions in terms of placement. They dare not be on public property, correct? Is that correct? They cannot be on public property? They cannot be on public property. They can't be more than, I forget what the square footage is. There's a square footage size that they have to be within, and I think the board is saying that as long as they're up the day before and taking down the day after, they will be tolerated. I just want to be clear. I want to be clear for everybody and clear for the public while we address this issue.
It's clear, we should look at we should revisit the law, make it,
Yep.
bring the law to make it effective and realistic.
Okay.
That's at the end of the highway report.
Thank you. Water Department.
So in August, total water treated 15,095,000 gallons. The Dodge truck is in for repairs at Rhinebeck. Should get it back this week. Thanks to the part-time workers for cleaning up the Violet Hill storage tank, mowing and in weed removal and general maintenance. It looks, I saw it the other day and it looks better. So, now I have an issue with the boiler is completely,
Before you go into the boiler, on the reservoir, just a comment. We work, the water department, we have a grant, works very hard to maintain our property that was within the town, which is a reservoir, which is up on highway. It's a tough property to maintain, it's difficult to mow, and I think they just do a great job and all summer long trying to work on that. If anybody has a recommendation on what we can do to maybe make that more ecologically friendly, I would like to have it because I think it's an important thing to help maintain, but mowing is difficult and very time consuming. I did receive one suggestion of planting pollinators up there, and that came out of the water department. Pollinators are flowers, and then the flowers attract bees, and the bees promote more, and it's a continuous cycle. But I'm really open to suggestions on what we can do to improve the reservoir and looks of the grounds up there, if anybody has any. So, sorry, thank you, Fran. Yes?
Goats.
goats. You guys tried goats, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, we tried goats. Yeah.
We did goats.
What happened?
Oh, boy.
Oh,
Just look at the old Panda tapes.
The goats got somebody's goat.
And I will admit, I was the one that wanted goats. And I worked the contract and had approval by the board that last summer we did goats. But in all fairness for everybody, goats are not in favor of everybody. So we did remove the goats and we have not put the goats back.
Some homeowners complain.
We had complaints.
They did a bad job.
Okay. Wastewater.
Oh, wait, there's
Oh,
no,
wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
the boiler,
The boiler.
it's shot. You could probably pick a hole through the side of it, so. We got 3 bids on replacing the boiler, and one of them is from Sigma Tremblay. That bid is at 20, where's that figure here? The total bid, I don't have my glasses on. These are the upgrades.
Are they in the report?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the total is 21,541. The bid for pro services is 16,000. What is that?
550.
550, and that's the lowest one. And Paraco Costco is $18,890. All similar bids. The one from Pro Services, like the others, is take the old boiler out, put the new 500,000 BTU boiler in, valves, pipes, vent, and fittings. That includes the labor for mechanic and labor for a journeyman. So I would like to, and they're ready to go, which is a big thing this time of year because these folks are busy. And we're running out of time because it's going to get chilly.
So they're all of the same efficiency, they're all the same.
Yeah, they're all like around 500,000 BTU in the same, yeah.
Efficiency,
same configures.
efficiency and
Yeah, yep.
Is it
what
oil?
is, and their oil?
It's oil, yeah.
And what is the efficiency ratings on them?
There's what, about 85% efficient.
I don't know what.
82 for the Sigma bid. I don't know if it's on this one. If you want, I can
I'd just like to know that we're conservative, we're not.
Yeah, no,
We're making good judgment in terms of use of fossil fuels.
Right. It's not on this. I'd have to look up the cut sheet on the boiler itself. But we can make approval conditions on having, quality efficiency rate. I mean, just by virtue of having, well, aren't they all like, well, commercially you might.
I don't know.
I think the oil burners are around 85%.
Yeah, I really don't know.
I know natural gas obviously is 95%,
Right.
98%, whatever, but.
Well, so the other two bids don't have it on there, but I'm sure it's somewhere. I mean, there's just an Energy Star requirement too, isn't there?
Yeah.
Even for commercial stuff, or maybe especially for commercial stuff.
I was just, all right, so
Yeah.
make your motion, I'm going to amend it to add the efficiency unless you want to include that.
Yeah, I can't like say
I don't know
specific
what
number
number
we
it is,
can't
but,
meet, that we can't meet, yeah. If it's really bad, we can change our mind, how's that?
I would like to just go for the highest efficiency
Right,
of use and Energy Star rating.
right, okay. So that's, I move that we accept the pro services bid of $16,550.
I second.
I would just like to amend it and say that.
Yeah, no, with your amendment, yeah.
With the amendment that's based on, it's the most efficient and Energy Star approved
Right.
boiler
Of the three that were.
of the three bids.
That it's as comparable.
Yes.
Yeah,
Whatever, as comparable, yeah.
right, is the other one.
Okay,
Yeah.
Agreed.
okay, so amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Now, also, we have the electrical panel. When you walk into the plant, you actually have to turn the circuit breaker switch on to turn the lights on. And that's not good for the switches, and it's just not the way to do it. So Brian Alex, chief water operator, has been trying to get electrical bids, and he's called about 4 or 5 different electrical companies, and we got one bid from Mr. Long, who does work for the village, David Long, is it? For $1,200 to $1,500 to put switches next to the panel and make it safer and make it so we're not damaging the circuit equipment there. So I need approval for him to move forward on that.
It's under the cap for we don't have to go for 3 bids, correct?
Right.
We've made best efforts or good faith
Oh, you did?
efforts. Yeah, certainly. He's had 4 or 5 electric companies that he solicited to come out there. So yeah, we made best efforts or good faith efforts to get those numbers of bids. And if it is over $500, we are supposed to do that. So
2,000.
I think it's $500.
Okay.
But
Categories. Yeah.
so anyway, we've done that.
Okay.
I just need.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask him to proceed
Second.
on the electrical.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried.
And last, you guys, have you seen the letter from Bernier and Larios outlining a possible solution for the sludge removal at the lagoon? This is less than half of what we've been discussing with our in our vulnerability report. So I'm
Yes.
pursuing this option. It's going to save us hundreds of thousands of dollars if we can pull it off. And he's going to have to do some laboratory testing to test the nature of the sludge to get more of a firm bid on this as far as an estimate of cost. So I'll stay tuned.
Great.
So they know about the road, right? It's hard to get down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd really like to get this done for about $375,000.
Yes, great. What is the status for the sea level rise and protecting the intake pump house?
I haven't talked to Crawford lately to see how they're doing on that grant
Okay.
request, but they are in for the grant request to wet-proof the.
Right. So we don't have a response back? yet?
No.
Okay.
And nor do I have a response from Troy on the big project
Okay.
yet. But I think, Gary, that you and I should perhaps call the, assemblyman again and see if we can get an appointment to go in and talk to him about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it.
okay.
Okay, next on is committee reports, tree committee.
Oh, you forgot wastewater.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
Very important.
well, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Wastewater.
Because wastewater treated was 3.87 million gallons. Gallons of sludge processed was 36,400 gallons. And pounds of sludge processed was 4,577 pounds. And I just would like to make a note that Pete has a very exhaustive report every month, every day he writes things down, even though I don't say all these different things that go on, but he's very efficient at what he does. Thank you.
Yeah, all right, apologize for that. Now on to tree committee.
Okay, I'm going to break this up into a couple little spots, just to do the easy one first. The tree committee did approve an application to remove a tree at 73 Livingston Street. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the removal of a tree at 73 Livingston Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I just like to make note that, you guys get out and look at the trees too? It's important that we look at the trees, so.
I normally do, but
Yeah.
they didn't have an approval scribbled at the bottom, so I didn't go to look at that.
Okay. It's, I believe the street is really close to dead.
Right.
It's dead.
Yeah, it is dead.
But I did see something about unanimous, so I just figured.
Yeah, no, the board is very diligent about going out. And especially Meg, if there's a chance that the tree can be saved, there's been a couple instances down on Astor where he's asked if the tree can be fed, or there's some other serious, so they're take the recommendation very seriously. The fall planting is scheduled for November 4th, and volunteers will be very welcome to help with the fall planting. A lot of the fall planting is going to be happening down in the area of Astor and Montgomery. They've lost a lot of trees down there, and so a number of trees will be replaced. There'll also be some trees going in across the old Dr. Block office, across from on Montgomery Street, across from the hospital, and that should really improve the site, improve the site and the aesthetics of that area. One thing that has been an issue at the with the tree commission has been the level of paperwork that's been required to do beyond right-of-way plantings. And just to backtrack here, basically, the village board passed a local law last year allowing the village to plant trees approximately up to 30 feet off the right-of-way and our right-of-way. And so basically, the logic for this came initially from the Association of Towns. And basically it was said that this was a public health and safety function. And so in a municipality's role for health and safety, you could do that. I ran this by NICOM, which is specifically for villages, the chief attorney there, and he said he saw no difficulty with that. And I would add that the village and town of New Paltz currently have a program like this. Mamaroneck is down in Westchester is looking at it. The issue has been the implementation of this program. Basically, a couple of things. The last board, the way we set it up was that people sign a contract with the village. We sell the tree to the homeowner for $1. We sign a contract with the homeowner for 5 years that the village can come in and maintain and prune and water the tree, basically to help make sure it gets established. So in speaking to the attorney up at Nikon said, you should probably stop selling the tree because you're not really selling it to the homeowner, you're placing it there for public benefit. So that was one thing, so you should probably stop selling the tree. The other thing was that the last board had been very concerned that the village maintain that access for 5 years. And in doing so, created a situation where we have to, essentially the homeowner has to get an easement to allow this. And by getting the easement, they have to get a notarized contract. And once we have that in place, then our village clerk has to.
Once I get the forms, then I'd have to take them down to the county, and it's $45 or $50 per application that we would have to pay up front to the county, because we can't get billed from the county, and it would be taking the applications down and having them filed with the county clerk.
And furthermore, once people make this change in Eden, they need to file paperwork with the state. So it becomes an enormous, basically an enormous bureaucratic kind of difficulty. So what I would like to do, and I will put it up for the next, we need to amend the law that because the law does call for an easement. I'd like to be able to amend the law so we don't require the easement. Basically, the tree is about $100, and we should just create a simple contract with the homeowner to say we can come in and prune the tree. And should the property be sold or turned over in that 5 years, we can just go to the new property owner and ask them if we can continue to have access to the tree. It seems like we're spending an awful lot of energy for a very low, a low frequency event, and even in the event that it happens, it's unlikely that that somebody would deny us. And look, they could always cut down that tree if they don't want it. It's not ours to. We can't tell them what to do. So I would like to get a consensus on. I did say I did speak with our village attorney, with our village attorney, Rich Olson, and he basically said he sees no problem with the logic of the health and safety argument for being able to plant the tree. He remains, because it's never been tested in court, we're stepping into slightly unknown territory here. I would add, however, that at the state legislature level, they have provided that the New York State Department of Transportation can plant trees on private property in order to improve safety along the highways. So there is some sort of precedent at the state level for this activity. But I sent you guys all a huge packet of information about this, but I wanted to get a sense for how you wanted to go forward, what you'd like to do.
I totally agree with you, and I thought the way you marked it up was just fine. I think we should do that. If we lost a tree that cost us $100, it's not worth it for us to go, have Pat or someone else go and record the thing and pay $400. I mean, their time isn't even. Yeah, it's just not cost effective. And it's a low risk situation. If we lost a tree, then basically what you would have is a license agreement, with that property owner to go on the property, and that it sounds fine.
Yeah.
The difficulty has been there's a tax form, then there's a notarization form, and getting all those from the property owner has been a problem. But
So how many people of all the trees we planted in the ground, how many, I'll finish the question so it's for the public. How many people, you read my mind. How many people of all the trees we planted in the ground have completed the forms?
2.
So I think, as is the case where with the yard signs, we're probably better off amending the law to make it practicable versus trying to enforce something that just seems overly complicated. And I appreciate what the other board is trying to do. Basically they were really trying to protect the village's investment, but it just seems to turn out in practice, it's too complicated.
Since I was on the other board, I think it was just, we were listening to what the our council suggested we do.
Right.
As long as he agrees with you now, and, you know.
To be fair, I think I have a grudging agreement from Rich.
Yeah, probably.
He's not.
But NICOM is more in our favor, right?
NICOM said.
NICOM is a bunch of lawyers who villages work with.
It's a New York Conference of Mayors.
New York Conference of Mayors, yeah.
Well, especially Wade Beltran, he's the top dog, so
Yes.
you're talking to the.
Yeah, no, so I
So-
did communicate with Wade, and that was where it came from.
Yeah, so
I-
we're talking to council when we talk to NICOM.
Yes, we're talking to
Just so
council.
everybody knows that.
And there's yet to be, these programs, and Rhinebeck is actually very innovative in this program. This kind of program is available in other states, but in New York, it's relatively new. So we are a little bit on the cutting edge. And that may, require a little vulnerability, but I think at this point, the downside risk is quite low. And the upside of that planting a tree that could be there for 50 to 150 years is very high.
I think we'll encourage people to allow us to plan as well, because I think we have met resistance now because of the application process, so this would really open it up so more people would be willing to allow the planting.
Meg had asked, because the planting in November 4th, a lot of them are in the brow, that any decision that the board make, so that the process is set, so that.
Well, they'll be planting, we probably need to do a public hearing to amend the law.
So that it's all in place by.
Yeah, it's all in
We
place.
have to do it next month.
Yeah, so, and basically, it's a pretty simple, it's basically just crossing some language out. So we should set a public hearing for the next meeting. So,
You can make them up.
okay, I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing for the purpose of amending the local laws pertaining to planting trees beyond the right of way. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
If I get better with my pad, I could tell you, I believe it's local law 44 of 2016.
Local number four.
Number four, I'm sorry, number four.
I
sorry.
am proficient and it is local law.
So, you got it, okay, all right, there you go. So, thank you very much, this has been a big concern of the committee, and I think, Rhinebeck, we're at this cycle where we're losing a lot of trees, and by planting trees, we're doing something positive into the future.
I just wanted to add something to the the reason why we want to plant them beyond the right-of-way, which is what brow means, as you said, is to get away from the sidewalks and the power lines overhead. So this allows us to plant trees farther away from the sidewalks and the power lines.
Right, so hopefully this will end some of the sidewalk buckling that we have when trees go in, and also all the funky pruning that Central Hudson has to do. It starts to avoid these issues. Hopefully we'll have longer-lived, healthier trees and nice shady streets to walk on.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, no, I didn't know if I could. You mentioned that there were trees lost on Montgomery and Astor. Could you give more details?
Oh, this has been going on for a while. There's a big group of trees back there that have died or are dying. And so basically, along Astor, we've gone through the application approval process over the summer. The tree committee went out there, and I believe I don't have the list in front of me, but they approved removal of a lot of trees. They're with great sadness in their hearts. And basically, one of the things they're looking to do is, right now, even start replanting and interplanting, so that's a lovely column of trees that used to be back there. So that hopefully, over the years, that will rise again.
And none of that is privately owned?
No, that is private. That is privately owned.
By whom?
By the Woods. The Woods owns that strip. I don't know exactly.
So are they paying for the removal of trees?
Yep.
And 73 Livingston, is that a private residence?
Yes, we're not. It's just a permit that they're getting. They have to remove the tree.
Okay, they're removing it.
They're removing it. Yes, no. It's just they need a permit.
I thought I heard the village is taking down
No.
the tree.
No, Joanne, that law was amended, 2 years ago? I think 2 years ago, where now It was a shared 50/50 at one time, but now it's 100% onto the homeowner. The cost of removal of the tree.
Is that the same applicable with sidewalks? Because I know a long time ago we had sidewalks that the residents were required to.
Do you want to come up and ask your question? So, I mean, it really needs to be.
Is that okay? Can I?
Yes, absolutely. I would like you to come up.
I have questions, right? Yeah, I just wanted to know if, what the current law is regarding sidewalks being fixed by the homeowners, which I think, when we started the sidewalk issue that you interrogated so well, at that time, the residents were required to pay for it?
And yeah, except for those portions that were attributable to street trees, and then what we were doing is paying a portion that was attributable to street trees.
Okay, and is that the case with where you're replacing bluestone on Parsonage? This thing, you're replacing bluestone on a portion of Parsonage.
So when that gets replaced, it has to be kept with the same historic character that it already is. So for the sidewalks, they have to
Right.
remain the same
Right,
as part of that grant process that
Right.
we talked about earlier. So
Uh-huh.
if it's bluestone today, it stays bluestone, if that's your question.
and again, it's, who is paying for it?
Well,
The grant.
in that, since we're doing the renovations, we have to restore it to what it was originally.
Okay, I'm just curious who owns that property that it's being replaced?
I'm sorry, no.
It's a street, right? I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding, really, I am. It's a street in front of houses, right? And the grant is saying replace the bluestone, but that's not, you know, if it was any other street not in this grant, it's a homeowner's responsibility or 50/50 or what?
No, so what we need to do is, if we're making the improvements
Mm-hmm,
for the crosswalk, it has to be all-inclusive. You're talking that Parsonage and Market, correct?
yeah,
If we're
yeah,
making improvements to that crosswalk and then putting an ADA-approved crosswalk, we have to make sure that the intersection to that is also ADA-approved so that it meets the standard. And if there is bluestone there, we have to bring that bluestone up to the ADA approval. And since we are making the improvements, we then have to restore it to make it ADA approved.
okay, thanks.
Are you done?
Yes.
There was another application.
That was, that did not come from the property owner.
Meg sent you a letter to the village board.
Oh, I didn't get that.
I didn't get the letter.
Can I read it into the minutes that she read?
Sure.
Brought it.
Oh.
She brought it in this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
To the village board, the very large old ash tree that dropped limbs onto a car at 41 Locust Grove and knocking out power needs to be addressed by the property owner of this tree, Rhinebeck Commons. The property owner, Rhinebeck Commons, was asked to inject this tree to endeavor to protect it from the emerald ash borer due to the age and majestic quality of the tree. However, whether due to last year's drought or finally succumbing to the disease caused by the borer, the canopy of this tree is 2/3 dead and may be totally dead next year or the year after. For safety reasons, all the dead limbs must be removed before causing more damage. However, if instead of pruning all the dead limbs off, the owner wishes to remove the whole tree now, that would be okay. 2 smaller trees recently planted as an eventual screen in the area of this tree have died and should be replaced with walnut-tolerant trees. Sincerely, May Crawford, Chair of Rhinebeck Tree Commission, and John Fenton went and looked at this tree today as well. So John is going to be drafting a letter to the property owner.
Okay.
So I think what you're saying, though, we have a safety issue.
Correct, that's
Which
why
is-
John went and looked at the tree. Meg asked John to go look at the tree, that's why I wanted the board to not be aware. Meg had John go look at the tree, John looked at the tree, he feels it's a safety issue, he's going to draft a letter. Meg wrote this letter to you.
Okay.
I mean, if there's a safety issue, so is it pruning or removal? I'm not sure.
Meg had said it could be pruned, but next year it'll probably have to be removed.
So, but my understanding of the procedure from here is John will notify the property owner.
Correct.
And if they don't take action within 30, 60, I'm sure whatever time limit, then the village could prune or remove the tree and then bill back the homeowner.
Correct.
Bill back the property owner in this case. So this would begin a process.
Correct.
So,
We need to vote?
So
Yes.
I live at 41 Locust Grove Road, so I want to find
come on
out
up.
what line involved needs to be going forward. So I'm on the adjacent property, all the power lines are there. So let me let you finish your vote and I can have my comment.
No, we want to have discussion. I didn't know there was a hand up.
Sure, yeah, thank you so much for reviewing that proposal, Pat, for getting me that request form so quickly. So we live at 41 Locust Grove Road. I park my car at the top of the driveway, adjacent to a fence, and John's Way, Rhinebeck Commons is on the other side of it. That huge tree overhangs our property. Those are the dead branches. It's over power lines, it's over our car. Some branches fell down on last Monday. They knocked out the power on our whole street. They dented the roof and hood of my car, which is cosmetic. I'm not that worried about it. But clearly, these branches right over the power lines, Connie from the Tree Commission came out to take a look at it, and it really is a danger if we have continuing winds, precipitation, anything. These branches are hollowed out. We looked at them. Emerald ash borer is probably the culprit here. They're dead, and they're going to continue to drop, and they're heavy, and they're right over power lines. So I ask for your expediency in acting on this. If there's anything we need to submit further to make sure that these branches or the tree is removed for safety for the entire street. That's
Is this your tree?
No, it's on the other side. But the high branches hang over our property. And so that's where the power lines are, and that's where everything else is. I now park my car in a different place, which is okay, but I can't move the power lines.
so I think the answer is that there's a process that has to be followed here. And so the process is the superintendent of public works sends a letter to the property owner saying, for safety reasons, you must remove this tree. The property owner has a deadline, I think it's 30 days, but that's off the top of my head, to comply. If the property owner does not comply, then the village will hire its own crew, send it out there, remove the tree, and then bill back the property owner for our costs. So that's the process that is basically starting tomorrow. So,
Great. So in about a month's time, it will be resolved one way or another.
I think so. I have to double check on the amount of time that the property owner has. It's in the law, and off the top of my head, I think it's 30 days. But anybody else?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm not sure.
It's not too long.
Yeah, it's like a year.
No, it's not going to understand that.
Yeah.
So now I have a question.
The other resident at 41 Locust Grove Road.
So it's not the whole tree, and we know, right, that it's not the whole tree, it's just.
Please come on up and introduce yourself.
Sorry. I'm Craig St. Clair, 41 Locust Grove. So it's not the whole tree, just to clarify, right? It's just, there's like 2 dead branches on what looks like a very healthy tree.
Well, I think the answer is that the tree committee, look, that's an ash tree, and ash trees are under attack by emerald ash borer. And apparently, it was, at least from Meg's point of view, that tree can't be saved. And so while we're there, we're gonna take the entire tree down. I know when we were talking about it.
It did say private homeowner's discretion to either prune or to remove.
Right.
Okay, so it is discretion.
It is discussion, but that tree unfortunately is diseased and is likely to die soon.
Okay, so, and then also to be clear, we're not the property owner where the tree is sitting, right?
Correct.
Somebody, well, actually, I don't even know who owns that property. Because it's that little easement between the new street and our property line. It might be the
We
village.
can look that up in the record.
Yeah, Craig, this was discussed, you were out.
Sorry.
I have to say that unfortunately the tree committee seems like it's getting a bad rap. They love trees, but they're the people who also have to sign off on their removal. So at the next meeting, maybe we'll go through all the trees they've planted, or they're planning to plant. But the committee really tries to make every effort to maintain trees. I believe this tree was supposed to be fed and had some other special applications in order to help it last, but it seems not to have worked or come to the end of that cycle.
So,
So legally, we have to make a vote on this.
Do we? No, John's gonna send a letter.
Okay,
That's
all
it.
right, very good.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry. Thanks for.
No problem. Huh? Okay, anything from the ethics committee?
no,
Quiet.
Fine.
everybody's behaving.
Short-term vacation rental?
We're still, tussling with the non-posted, or unposted. One of them's a word and one of them's not a word. Unposted rentals.
So originally, Brand, I had asked for a 60-day. So if there's going to take, and we've gone beyond
Oh,
60
yeah,
days,
yeah.
so I would at least like to have a
Do you want?
projected date.
I'll talk to the group. Next week we're meeting and,
Okay.
yeah.
So that we can set some expectation for everybody and on when we're going to do this.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
sure.
Can we make comment on the short-term housing? Short-term rental?
It's in committee.
Yeah, it's in committee, so, I think, well, after the committee, I think we should have a couple of workshops. That's my opinion, and not just go from the committee recommendation to some kind of public hearing, so I think we should.
We're waiting for the committee to
Right.
come back. So
we're.
I think you can send
early,
comments to the committee as well. But I think by doing that, we're opening up a public comment section, and we're really not into a public comment section for the short-term.
Can you email me or Brant Nudiker? Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Michael. Environmental Committee. The Environmental Committee met again on the first Tuesday of the month. And just to refresh everybody's mind on the short term, on the Environmental Committee, this is a committee that's focused on climate change with multiple silos associated with, when I talk about silos, underneath climate change, the overall umbrella, but we have experts in terms of energy, we have an expert in terms of water, we have an expert in terms of waste, and what I'm asking for tonight is the appointment of a committee, appointment of a person as an expert for transportation as part of the climate. And that person's name is Paul Korschak. He's retired Vice President of New York City Metro Cars Division. He won the Transportation Innovation Award in 2001. While he was working, he had 1,300 people underneath him in terms of the transportation effort, and one of his big initiatives was an urban mobility plan, which really addresses things like sidewalks, biking, parking, etc. He would be a valuable asset to our committee as part of one of those silos. So I'm asking for the committee, the trustees' approval to appoint Paul Korschak to the Environmental Committee. I'm making the motion to ask Paul.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Any discussion?
Can you help us with parking in Rhinebeck?
Yes.
Well, the whole thing is an urban mobility plan.
Okay.
So yes,
Yes.
but the focus is on climate change. But if there's aspects of that, I believe this is, again, this committee is focused on to try to bring forward policies and or recommendations to us, and it is a joint committee for the town and the village, but their job is to, not to be task-oriented, but be policy-oriented, looking across that broader spectrum for us. So thank you. Just to remind everybody, the current members of the committee, the chairs are myself and the town supervisor, Elizabeth Finzia, Dan Shapley, Matt Stinchcomb, Monique Segura, and Anthony Larson, and now Paul Korschak. And we had capped the committee at 6, so there was still one more opening to fill. And it was 3 from the village, 3 from the town as part of the process. Parks, Howie, anything for parks?
I know there's no report on the parks, but over the weekend I met with Randy Allstat, village resident, lives near Crystal Lake, and he had heard that we're going to be doing some improvements, which was a community development block grant, and he just wanted some information on that, which we met Sunday, and I explained everything to him. what's going on with that. That's all etched in stone, because that was a grant that was approved by the county. But his concern was on Rockefeller Lane. The park goes over to Rockefeller Lane, and there's not too many areas where you can access the pond over there, the Crystal Lake, because of the tree committee, which I'm to blame for that. At the time, we planted a lot of trees alongside the Crystal Lake there, and it's amazing how fast they grew. But anyway, there's two areas where you can access the lake. But now they're all, and I sent pictures, I just went over there before the meeting. I sent a few, I don't have your phone number, but John, but sent pictures to you, Gary, and Grant. But I don't know if you looked at them, but there's an open area where it's worn, there's no grass, and it gets very muddy. And there's one area that's bigger than the other, there's two areas. So he was thinking of doing some kind of a platform there, or paving stones so it's not slippery when it's wet a lot of times, and you can slide right in there. And I suggested maybe we can do some kind of a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout thing, and I know Bob Ellsworth with the Boy Scouts, and he's always looking for some projects, so I'll talk to him about that. It's just to put some kind of a non-slip platform there in the two areas.
You're currently working with Concord on this. Is this something that could
No, this is a separate area from,
so they can't address this issue because
No.
it's confined to a,
Yeah, because-
the grant is restricted to a specific?
yeah, the grant was for specific items, like, as you said, about the community development block grants. You propose specific things and it gets approved. So I don't think this would be.
Is this at Pocket Park over on Rockefeller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it would cost a lot of money to do anything there. It's not a big area to do anything, but I'm just looking, I'll talk to Bob Ellsworth and see if we can get some kind of a Boy Scout project going there, Eagle Scout.
Okay. Why
So
not?
that's all I have for the,
Would we take a look at that before they?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Makes sense. We would have to approve it.
sure,
Yeah.
Yes.
sure. We have money in the park fund, I believe. Yeah,
Let's see.
so that's,
Anything to make it more accessible.
Right.
Accessibility is key.
yeah,
Very good, thank you.
okay.
All right, so now we have a request for a new committee, which is called the Grant Advisory Committee by Trustee Rossi.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I don't know if the trustees had a chance to see the page and a half proposal that I put together, but quick background is in a earlier board that I served on. It was a condominium board for a building on the South Shore of Long Island that had been destroyed by Hurricane Sandy. And it was 180 plus living units, and we had a small place there, and the board decided to put together a committee on grants. And I would say it was a very effective resource because sometimes the truth is that no one's going to work harder than the constituents themselves. I've had the opportunity just recently by working with the mayor on an opportunity involving a grant for electronic vehicle charging stations. In fact, I think it's safe to say that if we can't secure the grant through New York State, we probably won't move forward, but we're really confident that we will be able to. I had the opportunity to meet with the individual representing the state, and I was sharing a little bit of background of my experiences working and successfully securing grants in my condo story. And I said, could you and I do this grant together? And she said, yes. And I said, would you, is there any fee for you? She said, no, it's part of what I do. So started to just connect the dots and realized that I've been impressed in the short time that I've been here with the great leveraging of state grants and federal grants that this village board and this municipality is exercising. But I think if I could chair a committee with, as I did with the condominium, with 1 or 2 volunteers, I bet I can find in the community, just as I found in the association, 2 2 or 3 people that have some experience in writing grants, have some experience in pursuing grants, and we could, as volunteers, do just that. Excellent as I believe that the village is doing, so much of this evening was focused on grants and our ability to do things through funding that is the best money because you don't have to pay it back. Maybe we can do even better. I'm already thinking of 2 or 3 grants that I, well, to be honest, we've already started working on the electronic vehicle grant. I signed up for the Grant Gateway. That's how you, with New York State, you'll get emails alerting you to when the grant opens. And in fact, the grant just opened for the electronic vehicles. You know, we think that we can get 80% of what probably be about $30,000 in cost. That grant actually leads to potentially other grants through, I won't get into a more too detailed discussion right now. You know, I was sharing some of this was with our district clerk, Pat, earlier this afternoon. And, you know, Pat mentioned another great opportunity that if we could get a grant for digitizing, archiving information. And I actually said, yeah, I know that that's available. So I just believe that with some resources in addition to myself, sometimes perhaps we might say, you know what, we really do need a grant writer. But my own experience with grant writers is that sometimes there's a niche, but more often than not, it's just people that have the perseverance and the ability to work with the resources from the state and the federal government, as we're beginning to do right now with this opportunity with the electronic vehicle stations, charging stations. So in short, I was just looking for the board's consent, approval that I could reach out, as the mayor has recently done with the environmental committee, find a couple of good candidates, bring them to the board for approval, and form this committee. And if we're successful, we can pick up some extra dollars. It hasn't cost anything. It seems like it would be a prudent effort to take, to advance. So that's my pitch. I'm sorry, I keep saying my background, but the mayor says it's talking to the microphone.
Just to emphasize, these are volunteers. correct?
Yes,
So
yes.
we're not
looking
paid,
to hire anybody.
no hiring,
Right, no.
and I believe their emphasis should be on village residents,
Oh, yes, yeah,
so,
yeah,
from the committee.
right. I'm betting that, as it turned out, the 2 people that volunteered when I was on the condominium, both had education backgrounds, both were teachers, kind of knew this area, even though every grant is different, but you get a sense and a feel for what the government is looking for, whether it's the state or federal. So yes, we certainly be volunteers from the village working at the will of the board.
So will you be actually actively looking for grants in particular areas?
You know, that was originally my thought, and then Mayor Bassett said, well, you know, we get mailings all the time about potential grants. We just don't have the resources to, pursue them. In fact, there's one called the Tiger Grant that Mayor Bassett just sent to me. I don't know what it stands for. So I wrote it down: Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery. The president actually signed a $500 million federal grant for municipalities to pursue the capital investments in surface transportation infrastructure. There's a webinar that doesn't cost anything. I've already signed up for it to just sit in on it tomorrow afternoon. If it turns into something, that's great. If it doesn't, it didn't cost anything.
No, it's wonderful. I mean, especially as somebody kind of new to the process, the grant, when you start looking at the grants and what they require and all that stuff, you're like, oh my God, what is this? But I think once you get used to it, and know it some more, it's
right.
You're used to jumping in the cold water there.
And specifically, the grant that we pursued successfully with the condominium was the New York Rising Grant, which was actually a feed from HUD, which was actually a feed from Community Development Block Grants. Everything that the folks in Texas and Florida are going to be pursuing through FEMA and federal government, we did. And that was about as tangled and complicated a process you could find, particularly for grant money that was structured for individual homes in the Midwest. No one even knew what a condominium was, from the legal point of view, from the federal law. But anyway, I have signed up for grants. I've gone to grants.gov, which is the federal site, which I'm pretty familiar with. But the mayor is correct. I think we can just, let's see what's being sent our way.
I think it's a great idea. We've always tried to pursue grants. We, like you said, we get things in the mail. We know we don't have time to pursue them. But it's a good idea.
I actually did ask when I met with this young woman from the state regarding the electronic charging vehicles, because her function, her organization is to work strictly with municipalities and villages. She's charged with the Hudson Valley. So what do other municipalities do? It's just sometimes they hire grant writers, sometimes they have someone on staff doing nothing but grant writing. When I said, well, I'm going to kick around the idea of a volunteer, a subcommittee of volunteers. She says that's a pretty good idea, but I need for you guys to think it's a pretty good idea.
I've already weighed in on this in our discussion, so.
Yes.
We've been very supportive, thank you.
Well, Red Hook has been very, I think they have one trustee in particular who, Brent Kowalczyk, I think is his name, very good at getting,
Yes.
very focused and very good at getting grants, and also the mayor of the village of Wappinger Falls is, I think it's a great idea that someone focuses on it.
Good.
All right.
Aye.
All in favor? I'd like to make a motion that we approve the grant subcommittee for the village of Rhinebeck. That would be, a committee focused on pursuing grants that are either, they can pursue or either receive grants as we get notification, as we deem fit, and ask them for participation on.
Thank you. Great.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Good job, John.
No, thank you.
Okay, we're getting into some detailed things now in terms of Porch Fest peddler permits. The list has grown. It originally was 8 and is now to 10. These are only peddlers that have been vetted by the committee, by the Porch Fest committee. We are not approving anybody, is that correct, Pat?
Correct.
So we are not approving anybody that is coming in solo. They are signed up through the Porch Fest committee and asked, the Porch Fest committee has asked us to sponsor them. We did say last month, because this event was approved prior to our change of the peddler's application, that we would still ask all these committees to submit documentation for approval, which has been done. You guys have all 10 of them to approve, and I'm going to read the list. It's Frights of New York, Frights of New York, Frights, sorry, French fries, the Frights of New York. Apologize for that. Carol Cruzco Hot Dogs, Spacey Tracy's Inc., The Cup Takes the Cake, Roscoe's Barbecue, Ellen Nicholas, Abba's Falafel, The Lunchbox, and then the full detail. David Ping is
that was.
Rhinebeck Interact.
Rhinebeck, yes, Rhinebeck Interact, and Dell's Dairy Cream makes up the 10. These all have been gone through the process and have submitted their applications, and all meet the criteria of what we've done for our application. So rather than going through each one in detail, I would just like to make a motion that we approve all 10, since they've been approved by the review committee, which includes the police and the fire and the Porch Fest committee.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
What food truck is David Ping?
Pardon?
What food is David Ping?
He's having coffee, tea,
Yeah, and cold coffee or something.
yeah, hot and cold coffee, hot tea, and hot chocolate. And it's for he's the advisor for Rhinebeck Interact.
Oh.
It's a school club.
It's a fundraiser for the Interact Club.
Okay.
Any questions about it? Any other questions? Okay, we're moving on to the next section of business, which deals with events and special requests. We have a series of really 4 events that we need to talk about tonight. And the first one probably being one of the more important one is the Hillary Clinton event, which is going to be held December 7th. It is a book signing at Oblong Book. Just to summarize this book signing, Ms. Clinton is on tour. This is one of the stops as part of the tour, scheduled for December 7th. Currently, they have 1,200 people that are signed up, and they're paying a small fee, and it will be an in and out. They go in, receive the signed book, and get out, but it's still 1,200 people in the course of over a few hours that will be attending this event. We do not have details in terms of how we will handle this event yet. We do not have details in terms of how we will park people. We do not have details of what the Secret Service is going to require at that event either. So although this is scheduled, we have a 60-day requirement for the event. I'm going to step forward and say that I really do not want to approve this event until we get the details and have a chance to iron it out. And if we have the opportunity then and to approve it, we can easily hold a special meeting to approve this event. But it's kind of fruitless without having any details whatsoever. We have some meetings set up with Oblong Books because this just came in. It was for the fact that I saw it on Facebook posted, and so we started asking questions, and it started out as 50 people, and within a week it's now 1,200 people. We need to get details. So I'm going to ask the trustees I would like to make a motion that we do not approve this pending additional detail to be brought forward at a later date.
Second.
Second.
Agreed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a question for the grant writing committee.
It's obvious that Oblong is not going to cancel this. I'm surprised that they didn't think to ask about it. I mean, it's totally clean. But I am concerned with the cost of the village, what the cost is going to be for extra police and what it's going to impact our village. And I know you're not.
Actually, excellent question.
Actually, that was my question to the grant writing committee, which is, I know that for presidential travel, local municipalities get reimbursed for having the president. Now, this is somebody with a Secret Service detail. Is that available?
We don't know.
We don't know. So,
We don't know.
We don't know. So
Hence the reason we're delaying.
Mr. Grant.
Hence we're delaying
Sorry.
until we get
But my
the.
point is, they're not going to cancel the event regardless of what you guys say.
We can shut them down.
Well, we have an event code.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Okay, well, all right.
More information to come forward.
All those people want to see
All right, the next one is the.
Quick question, no.
I'm sorry,
They don't
David.
plan on delaying too far, because they already sold 1,200 tickets to the
Correct.
site.
We
We're
need-
not delaying way.
And we're very upfront with the organization. We're working in communication with them. They're aware, and so we are in discussion already. So it's just happening very quickly, and we're trying to get out in front of it. Is what we're trying to do, because we do have to take care of the village and have a process in place.
Also, please know that this is how close to Sinterklaas?
Santa Claus, I believe, is the first Saturday of December.
Yes.
This
This
is
is
the
Thursday.
following Thursday. So Santa Claus is the second. We'll still be cleaning up.
Yeah.
Maybe we can convince them to go to the fairgrounds and there'll be lots of parking up there. No, do it right there. Give the fairgrounds a fee.
Did they intend to sell 1,200? Because like, I've gone to their book signings before and I thought I was signing up for.
You're asking all good questions. We don't have the details. As I said, I had to do a meeting set up tomorrow with them to start, and I'm including our sergeant of police as part of the discussion, and so hence more details to follow. And I appreciate your questions and concern because As your mayor and the trustees, I think we share the same concern. We just got to make sure that we do it right. Chamber tree lighting. Chamber tree lighting is submitted by the Rhinebeck Area Chamber of Commerce. Is for the Rhinebeck annual Christmas tree lighting and parade of lights is scheduled for, the event date is November 18th, which is a Saturday, and from noon to 2 p.m. is the event time. Oh, wait, excuse me. Estimated tear down time is 4:30 to 6:30, and is at the Rhinebeck Savings parking lot here on East Market Street. We expect 200 to 300 people for the tree lighting event. I'd like to make a motion that in continuous with past years, we approve the tree lighting by the Rhinebeck Chamber to start, the holiday season.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. The next one is the Halloween parade. These aren't in order here in terms of timing. Apologize for that. The Halloween parade, page down here, is by the American Legion Post 429 Auxiliary, which is located here on Mill Street. And the application is Ali Traver, and it's for the Halloween costume parade, which I'm sure everybody is familiar with. And the the parade will be followed by judging and refreshments at the American Legion Hall. The event date is Sunday, October 29th. Setup time is at 12. Event start time is at 2 p.m. And estimated tear down is 6 p.m. And so it starts at Center Street by the firehouse and Village Hall. Estimated to be approximately 100 people in the parade, which is our children's costume parade. This has been approved. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Halloween costume parade.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. The last one is, tree line. We have a peddler's permit by Mark Aldini. Let me just get to a lot of pictures, but they don't have any names here. This is a permit. I'm trying to get to the wording here. I'll show you. The brief description is from this person represents Edward Jones Investments. It's retirement plans, education plans, preparing for the unexpected, estate plans, stock plans, and mutual funds. He would like to solicit within the village by going door to door and be able to talk to people about investment strategies. This application was not approved by our police department for several reasons associated with the history of the individual doing the solicitation. I would like to make a motion that we do not approve Mark Aldini's peddler's permit for investment opportunities within the village, to solicit within the village, based on the review by our police department.
Second.
Any discussion?
So, yes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you. Not last, getting close to the end. All right, keep going backwards here. So, other business. Paid family leave is the first thing on the list. I would just like to read a couple comments on this. This is from Hartford. It was addressed to Hartford Insurance, and providing you with advance notice about changes to your coverage is to a top priority of Hartford. What has changed is New York State now mandates that all private sector employees, employers employing workers in New York State must provide paid family leave beginning January 1st, 2018. New York's paid family leave will be 100% employee paid and added to your Hartford premium statement as a new line item starting with the bills produced on January 1st, 2018. And what is needed to be done, as mandated by New York, the paid family leave benefit will be entirely funded by employee contribution through payroll deduction. The 2018 employee rate is the same for all employers regardless of size or carrier. The 2018 community rate is 0.126% of the employee's gross salary, capped at New York's current average weekly wage of $1,305.92. And this rate is not age or gender specific. So what is paid family leave? Just to give you some more detail, paid family leave is job protected paid leave to bond with a newborn, adopted, or foster care child during the first 12 months, care for a seriously ill family member, or address important needs related to a family member's military service. Can employers opt out of offering this coverage? Most employers must offer this coverage as part of New York, I don't know what the acronym is, DBL, disability something, to employees working in New York. Only public sector and certain other limited types of employers are not obligated to provide this benefit, although public sector may opt in. I think that applies to us, is that correct?
We're opted out.
We are public, yes. So, next one, what is the public sector? A private employee is someone who does not work for the state or any political subdivision of the state or public authority. The public employee is someone who does work for the state, hence us, we employ. How do employees get coverage? The existing coverage, with the coverage of the Hartford, all employees will be covered by the DBL will automatically have New York paid family leave coverage effective January 1st, 2018. When will employees be eligible? Full-time employees are eligible after 26 consecutive weeks of employment. Part-time employees, defined as employees working less than 20 hours a week, are eligible on the 175th working day. Who pays for paid family leave? Paid family leave is 100% paid by the employees. I've done this before, and I talked about the rate, which is, and when can employees start taking deductions? And that starts as early as July 1st of 2017, which is already passed. Deduction can start. Pat has reached out to other municipalities and surveyed other public sector organizations, and so far, none of the public sectors have opted in to providing paid family leave for this as a premium to the insurance.
Okay. And I checked again with other people yesterday at Nikon, and no one has opted in. They've opted out.
Did you talk to the union?
No.
Because that was my question. Do they have anything in our union that?
I think we would have to amend our union.
We would.
Yeah.
If we adopt this, it does have,
They entirely.
if we do, it does have to go into the collective bargaining for coverage.
And would that be done by bargaining unit then? Let's say one bargaining unit wants it and another bargaining unit doesn't? Is that?
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, if you had one bargaining unit that wanted family leave and the other bargaining unit that didn't, is that possible or?
We have two bargaining units.
Yeah.
Right. All of our water, wastewater, highway are under one, police is under a separate. So, yes, we would have to go to both.
If they're clamoring to do this, I'm for it because they're entirely funding it, obviously. But otherwise, we probably have to amend the union contract.
We would, I've had no requests.
Are they aware?
It was public announcement, so.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would want to take direction from our employees. I'd like to know what they're.
And by opting out now doesn't mean we cannot opt in later.
Right.
So we have that option. And my suggestion is we wait till we go into the collective bargaining again and then put this on the table.
Okay.
And that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
You set up in May or June?
2018, May.
Yeah.
2018.
I mean, seems like it should be addressed.
Yes, I would like to take it to the members.
Yeah.
Through the,
Sure, okay. It's their,
Okay.
their call, really.
So table it then until the next collective bargaining?
correct.
Okay.
Asher Dam Emergency Action Plan. This is important, guys. The last time we had anything done on the Asher Dam in terms of emergency action plan was 2012. It was prior to the renovation of the dam, so any of the current improvements that are in the dam have not been incorporated into our emergency action plan. And a lot of the players that were involved back then have now been changed, and we can update the players. That's the easy part to do it. But in terms of putting together with the new dam, you know, and having an emergency action plan in place, we do not. There is, Pat, you can help me here because you reached out and talked to.
I reached out and I talked to the New York State, or no, Homeland Security, and she recommended that we update our emergency notification, which I went through each part, and I updated our engineer, the dam safety, the watch center for New York State, the county emergency management, the owner, operator of the village, which is John Fenton, is our superintendent. So the emergency notification has been sent to Homeland Security. They did not even have our 2012 emergency action plan on file, so I scanned that and sent that to them, so that at least they have that on file. Their recommendation was to have something, even if it's outdated, but at least that there's something on file as a basis to start. This was done by our previous engineer of Erdman Anthony and Nancy Clark, who was there at the time. So they recommended that the emergency action plan needs to be done every 5 years. So that's why they reached out. You know, they when they were going through and they said we don't have anything. They had our notification, but they didn't have the plan.
Can we get something in writing from them? Because I don't want to jump, it's an unfunded mandate, and
You know, we have to create a new plan every 5 years?
yeah, I mean,
It needs to be current, especially being that we've had work done on
we
the
made it, we've improved it.
Yeah, but it's just not documented in the action plan.
This is a Class B dam. Every classification of a dam has different criteria.
Actually, you know what? We had two things. We had an action plan, and we also had a the dam fitness analysis. And this is referring only to the action plan, isn't it?
Only to the emergency action plan.
Yeah, we did two things. Remember that?
Yeah, Tom Mannix was involved in it too.
The emergency action plan was strictly Erdman Anthony.
Right. I remember reading it. They had all this
Tom was.
procedure for the thing if the dam fails and who does what.
But how can that change every 5 years? I mean,
What?
It did because of our circumstances with that dam since 2012. We had work that was done on the dam.
Right.
We had Hurricane Irene. You know, there were instances with that dam that had changed. So I think it was maybe flagged because of what had happened. Homeland Security, that's where all our reports went from FEMA, so that's who we dealt with.
But all this is just basically updating information that's already in there. Let's have a
Well,
report. You
No,
just-
I think it's an engineering.
This was
report.
different. This was an action plan though. It was like,
But the action plan though should be updated pretty frequently because the names and numbers change.
it wasn't like they didn't do an analysis of the composition of the dam and what it can withstand and all that in the action plan. It was just what happens when there's a breach and how do you deal with that emergency? And that was my memory of it.
Right, that's what this is.
Yeah.
This is simply who to call and.
Well, that's our emergency notification, that's part of the action plan.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, part one.
so we supplied our action plan to them.
I sent them our 2012 emergency action plan. I updated our part one of the emergency notification with our current staff because it was back
Right, so
2
what I'm,
years ago.
all right,
So
so-
that's been brought up to date. So they at least have our current contacts. The content of that emergency action plan has changed because of the things that had happened, because of the improvements that we have done. So their recommendation that we do need to have this done at some point. We need to accomplish it. It was
We
done
get it,
by our.
Put it in next year's budget. I mean, I don't want,
Well, I had said that to her, because I had mentioned it,
Yeah.
and I said, we don't have this in the budget, this wasn't planned. And she was, at least if we can give them some guidance as to where the board is headed.
So we have the plan, and then we can just show them our improvements that we did.
I don't know how much of, because I'm not an engineer, to look at that report and see how much of that report has changed basis what it is now. I don't.
Why don't we crack that stuff
I
open and take a look?
read through it, and it's an engineering report.
it is an engineer's report,
Yes.
or urban engineers did.
Yes.
So maybe we should,
So it's nothing we can,
We can't do it ourselves.
I can't do it.
no, we can't do it ourselves. But I'm wondering if we can just talk to Ruben and Anthony, because they did the first one.
They're not around anymore.
Business. But Nancy Clark.
Nancy Clark is around.
Around.
Do you think she still has a role? Well, we have to report.
Okay, well, I think the reply should be that we are going to pursue it, right?
Mhm.
But, and then we'll try to get estimates and budget for it. Let them know. Do you guys agree with that?
I'd like to put it in next year's budget.
So,
And get in touch with her at some point and
Nancy, I was just emailed her the other day, so,
see how much it costs to amend it.
okay.
super. Excellent. Thank you. So Pat, you'll communicate that to,
Do you want multiple engineers like Crawford and Associates as well as Nancy Clark, or just Nancy Clark and she was the one that did it?
How much, I mean, we have to bid it.
Pardon
Do
me?
you have to bid it out?
I don't
may
know
have to.
the cost.
Yeah. I don't know how much this thing costs. I mean, are we talking about, is this $1,000 job or a $10,000 job?
We might be able to claim that we don't need to bid it out if it's because.
If it's
let's talk to, let's
Yeah.
I'll
get.
call Nancy, I'll talk to
and
Nancy.
At least get first assessment and then bring
It's all
that back.
boilerplate stuff, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, minutes approval for 8/22/17. Has everybody had an opportunity to read through the minutes?
Yes.
Any changes or corrections? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 22nd, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Thank you. Correspondence. We have Pat.
I had received 2. One dated from Chestnut Suite, Wednesday, August 30th, to me regarding the Rhinebeck informational notice, zoning draft 120-17. Changing the word is fine, but if the CEO has no power to act when there are infractions, it won't be any different. Example, number 9 Chestnut Street in the village has been, Commissioner knows that the zoning for over 2 years. The CEO knows this, but no action has been or can be taken. I appreciate everything the board has done to protect the integrity of our village. Zoning is necessary, but not being able to regulate it is also necessary. Thank you for your interest and time you all give. Jeff Strong, lifelong in the village, 75 years. The second one is 27 Chatham Street, Kinderhook, New York, to Mayor Bassett. Dear Mayor Bassett, for many years, 2 friends from New Jersey and I have enjoyed meeting for lunch in the charming village of Rhinebeck. Recently, however, we were dismayed to discover that it was very difficult for us to enjoy our previously pleasant reunions. We realize our age is partly responsible, as we are now in our middle 80s, and our New Jersey driver is 91. But we wonder why there are no designated handicap parking spots in front of the Beekman Arms, and why the sidewalk is in such a state of disrepair. It is very difficult for my friend in a walker to get out of a double-parked car and negotiate the walk to the inn. We notice many tourists in Rhinebeck, and notice also many people of our age visiting the shops and lunching at the inn. It is not possible for your Board of Trustees and the Beekman Arms to look at the needs of the elderly and handicapped and make better provisions for their comfort in the otherwise delightful village. We wish you all the best. Sincerely, Jennifer Brickmeyer.
Thank you. Some of those we can address, I think, by asking John to look at, the zoning, well, the first one is for the zoning draft, 1/2017. That could go to planning board, John, right, in terms of them to address it and correspond. The second one, in terms of handicap accessibility, I think that can also go through to the planning board. Agree?
Yeah, I mean, there are spots behind me.
Right. But
Yeah, I don't know if you can designate a public spot handicap.
right.
And you may put maybe a sign that says, handicap parking or something.
But I would like to get a response and reply. So,
Was the Beak gonna, as part of their site plan approval, aren't they going to redo the sidewalk?
but, yes,
That's what I thought.
but I don't know what, I've seen the
Yeah,
building
when-
plans, but not the detail.
Right.
So,
Want me to bring both issues to the
yes,
planning
could you?
board and follow up?
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
got the response. Thank you. There was one more that wasn't included in here. It was from Ken Davidson.
Oh, I have.
Do you have that one?
Yes, I do.
You have it? Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, you're.
Good afternoon. There's been a couple from him. The 6th of September, I think. Good afternoon. Thank you for having the confidence in me to fill your emergency management position on an interim basis. While I consider the offer an honor, I think the first and most important step you should take is to develop a job description for the position. As I indicated to you during our conversation, I am more than willing to assist you in developing a job description that will be beneficial to the community. Part of your considerations should also be towards a management profile or chain of command structure. Additionally, items such as liability, personal injury insurance, levels of authority, and others must also be considered. I realize this is a voluntary position. However, whomever is appointed to the position must have a crystal clear understanding of all that the job entails. While I appreciate your kind offer, I must decline at this time. As I mentioned earlier, I am available to assist you in developing job descriptions and other items related to the position, but cannot serve in the position as it exists today. Please feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns. Regards, James Davidson.
All right, so I'll give you some background on this. There's a recent passing of Henry Campbell, who was our emergency response coordinator. He was also for the village and for the town. We need to fulfill that position. And we need to look at, at large, what we need to do. I've talked to several people in regard to emergency response coordinator, and I've also looked within the village. We do not have a job description today. So I was interested in finding somebody that had the experience, that was doing the job, that could maybe possibly do it for us on an interim basis till we're able to write a job description and then interview and fill that position. So I reached out to Ken Davidson, who is a emergency planning coordinator and also does the emergency planning coordinating response for the Dutchess County Fair. Very experienced individual. But he's in real honesty with him, he does not live in the village of Rhinebeck, and even as an interim, if there was an emergency disaster, his ability to respond immediately was what was keeping him from saying, I would like to do this as an interim position. So we are without an emergency response coordinator. But what Ken has agreed to do and work with us on is to help develop a job description. And then from that job description, then we can seek people who may want to apply for that position and then interview if there's more than, I know there's possibly more than one that would be interested in this, and then make a decision as a board to who are emergency response. So what I'm pursuing is developing the job description first, because I think that's important. We don't have it, and that will give us the ability to reach out to people. So I'm working with Ken Davidson. So I'm in correspondence with Ken and with others to develop the job description for emergency response coordinator. Okay? Tough shoes to fill. Okay. Do we have any personnel? I have no personnel. Any public comment?
I have some new business.
What?
Do we have new business?
New business was not part of the other. Do you have new business?
Well, I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so one of the things I've been investigating is changing the village streetlights from the current sodium vapor in the collection that we have into LED streetlights. It's a complicated process. Basically, Red Hook has just undertaken it. The idea is basically that the LED lights use a lot less electricity, and the payback time is pretty quick. I just happened to see our Central Hudson bill. We pay about $4,200 a month in light rental and electricity bill for our municipal street lighting. So a couple things. There is a consortium. There's a woman, Pat Strong, who's a consultant. Basically, got my acronyms. NYSERDA has contracted with her to be a consultant to municipalities that are looking to do this conversion. So I've been in touch with Pat, and we started corresponding. A couple things. So the town is also interested in getting involved. So Chauncey Walker, one of their board members, is going to be my liaison. So we're going to work together. On Friday, Chauncey and I are going to see Supervisor Robert McKeon in Red Hook to talk about his experience. They just began the process. They signed all the paperwork and everything.
I think they're more than the beginning. They've adopted.
They've adopted
They're gonna
the process, right? They've agreed to make the changeover, and they started. So Chauncey and I are going to go over there, talk to him, find out, speak to him, and then on Monday there's also a conference for municipalities who are interested in doing this in Red Hook, which I'll be attending. One thing that is part of this, in talking to Pat, is that you need to get a survey of your streetlights, because it turns out frequently the utility gets it wrong. So is what I'm told, basically. And I should just say that the way this works is we are charged rent, or we rent essentially the streetlight from the from Central Hudson, and then we pay for the electricity that it burns. She suggested that one of the first things you have to do is basically get an inventory, have somebody come in and check to make sure that the utility bill is correct. There is a consultant, Computel Consultants, and basically they have a program which they've developed with NICOM, so this is also offered through NICOM, where they will come in, evaluate your street lighting, and if they save money, then they get 40% of the first year's savings. And after that, it's ours to keep. But the point is that this is basically the first step in looking at whether we want to make this changeover to LED lights. So I wanted to, I guess I need a motion. I'd like to get your approval to hire Computel to do this analysis of street lighting, again, at no cost to us, but at 40% of whatever they find is if we're paying overage.
We've used, we've worked with them a couple times before, and they're really good outfit. They audited our cable agreement situation.
Yeah, I
discovered that we found some money that we were entitled to from the Time Warner.
Yeah, I did reach out to, I believe that I think that Red Hook used them as well. Not sure.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
I would like to see if Red Hook, I'd like to know what the town Red Hook did.
And I did speak to, our contact, and she suggested that there are basically two firms in New York that do this, Computel being one, and since we did have some experience with Computel, and they've been very involved in this,
That's a good group to go with.
So what happens if we don't do it?
If we don't do what?
If
Well, they're gonna audit,
they audit us and then we decide that we're not going to change.
That's, so if all they're doing is inventorying the streetlights and looking to see if there's a discrepancy in the,
So there's no
so the
money.
Central Hudson
If
bill.
we don't do it, we don't.
Right, this is, so if we decide we just want to keep our streetlights, we've gained whatever savings they found from the audit of this is from the audit of our streetlight bill. This is only to audit the streetlight bill. And again, they take 40% of the first year savings. Yeah, they're not involved, or at least at this point, they're not involved in the rest of the process. But it would be the first step in getting this done.
What agreement do we have with Central Hudson now? That they're replacing the, as the lights burn out, they're replacing it with LED lighting?
They are, yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have.
And we also are signed up with Verdian at a fixed rate
Right.
for electric, which I'm looking into to see if Verdian is still the best cost provider for electric. Because that was signed many years ago, and it's never been changed, so I'm doing analysis on reinvestigating how much we're paying per kilowatt.
So, Howie, I did get the latest, this is, unfortunately, I couldn't get the whole bill. This is the latest inventory. We rent one mercury vapor lamp, 144 sodium vapor lamps of particular sizes, actually 144 of sodium vapor, another 10, so about 190 sodium vapor lamps. Add another one, high pressure sodium vapor, another one. And we have, so far it seems like there are, let's see, 6, 17, 22 LEDs that are currently installed. One thing that, talking about the process, is that basically Central Hudson pretty much replaces the lamps. I'm gonna try to say this. They don't really spend a lot of time figuring out if that's the right amount of light for the particular area. So they'll just throw up something they think is appropriate for that street. One of the things that would happen if we decide to move forward with putting in LED streetlights would be, there would be a study to figure out what wattage or how many lumens at each particular spot you want to have projected out. So that's basically the company, the Central Hudson, when they do the replacements, they always err on the high side, right? They're always going to make sure they have more light than they need. And so this may be a chance also to reduce the wattage of the lamps and maybe some of the straight light. We'll find out. It's a bit of a process.
Right.
So, and as I said, so the whole bill for this is about $4,200 a month.
Right, yeah, I just signed the bill too.
I did. I saw it too. That's why I saw it too.
Yeah.
So it's it's a pretty good chunk of change.
I'm just, are the two initiatives related? That is to say, Computel, the audit company, are they somehow queuing up or helping us prepare for the migration to LED?
No.
So that
No.
if they find some billing errors, and that would be great for everybody, we save 60%, they get 40%.
First year, right? And
But
then-
what if in the course, 6 months from now, we initiate something that was gonna create a savings anyway?
Well, I don't know how else we get this done. I mean, get the survey done.
See, they'll do the inventory,
They'll do the-
So it is, okay, so it actually is related then to.
Yeah, no, right, no, the idea is that we need an inventory of our current existing
Okay.
streetlight structure and what.
So they're doing two things, providing the inventory and.
Exactly, yes, they provide the inventory, yes, they're looking for the savings, and we get whatever, the 60%, and then we also get the inventory.
The inventory,
Of our
okay.
streetlights,
Okay, I
yeah.
understand. Okay.
So essentially, they're gonna get 20 grand to do this.
Well, they get the savings,
They get the savings.
they get whatever savings they're gonna
Oh,
find.
you're right, savings.
If they find savings.
If they find savings, right, if they find they go, your lighting's perfect, so.
Oh, it's not of the cost of electric, it's.
No, it's the savings.
Savings.
Whatever they save, they take 40% the first year. So if they save us $100, they get 40, we get 60 in the out year. We would get
We
100,
get the inventory.
and we get the inventory, which is necessary for To examine it, yeah, for the
Right,
next
okay.
step, yeah. And that's
In
the-
fact, if they were to find, as you said, hey, we couldn't find any mistakes, we got an inventory that didn't cost us anything.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good deal.
And if it takes a year or two, it may take a while to get this whole thing, it's pretty complicated. We also get to save the money in the out years.
Right.
So, do I have a motion to,
I make a motion, we approve that.
okay.
I'll second the motion.
I agree.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Opposed?
All right, I'll start that moving along.
Anything else from the board? Okay. Any public comment? Joanne, come on up.
I don't know how you guys do this every month.
Sometimes twice.
Twice a month?
Sometimes.
It's fun and exciting.
Hi. I have a question about, I think the address is 35 Mulberry. I don't know, but I think it's a zombie house. It's the old Arnold house. What is going on with it? I think it is a public nuisance. I've walked past it and ticks jump up and everything. It's not being maintained.
There's a public auction going on for it.
Well, but in the meantime, somebody has to be responsible for it, right?
Yeah, and this is the Cedar Shake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there,
Okay.
we do know who's responsible. In fact, we just recently went after them to mow and maintain it because it was getting in bad shape. So there is a person, I personally don't know who that is right now.
Well, when are they going to do something? Or do we, as a village, have the right to take care of it and build them? Because in the meantime,
Well, I mean, my opinion is, this is our zoning enforcement officer, needs to stay on top of it to make sure that it's kept in the condition that meets the code. And it wasn't. And that's why we're trying to correct.
okay. When is it going to be auctioned? Is somebody going to take responsibility? Do we have a date?
I don't
There's a
know.
tax foreclosure auction on October 4th. A lot of Dutchess County real estate, and this happens to be one of, I just happened to look at this before the meeting started. And it's a coincidence you're talking about.
Yeah, because it's not good. I did see Village Highway mowing it once, and I'm not sure why the village did, but it's.
No, I think what happened was a village employee was being a nice guy and mowed the lawn for the person.
Okay,
His
we
own-
got-
It wasn't on village
his own
time.
time.
We got
Yeah,
nice
on his own
guys
time,
Village Highway.
And he actually helped the guy clean the house out at one time.
All right.
Okay.
Because I parked there recently and, you know, stuff is jumping out of that tall grass. As well as the deer, they're really enjoying it there. Okay, one other thing I have is, does the village have an arrangement with the fairgrounds?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed in the police report tonight that there was an uptick during the fair. Who's paying for it? Who's paying for the police during the fair?
Yes, we do have an arrangement for police coverage. Yes. And with the sheriff's office to also. So there is an exchange of funds for the fair.
Okay. As someone who lives down the street from the fair, I'm putting in a public request that all trucks and traffic to the fair go in through Route 9, not Platte, not Parsonage, and not Mulberry. Because I do believe that the problems with our roads are a great deal because of that. And every time there's a problem on the road, we get a patch. I've had flooding in my driveway. I was told, when I addressed it, I was told, get a new driveway. I got a new driveway. I'm still having trouble. I was told the driveway isn't right. I can't get a hold of the person who did the driveway. I won't mention a name in public. So, you know, I would like to know, I want the fairgrounds. I'm not against the fairgrounds, but I think that they deserve to be a good neighbor to us as well, and I'd like to know what it is. I have pictures of all the garbage this year, as every year, that I've had to pick out of my front yard. I had to wait 10 minutes on Sunday night to get out of my driveway because people coming down Mulberry wouldn't even let me out of my driveway. So my question is, how can we have a mutual village residents and fairground? Is there a committee? Is anybody looking into it? It's been a while, I think.
I have regular correspondence with the fair, and I can bring these issues up and try to get an answer for you.
I appreciate that, yeah, because, you know, our roads are damaged by all the traffic, the trucks, with all the events, not just the fair, not just the Dutchess County Fair. And since they have done this wonderful entrance on Route 9, can we get everything rerouted there? Because they're not paying for Mulberry and Platt to be repaved or Parsonage. So there is a lot of usage and damage from it. Could somebody look into that maybe?
I told you I will.
Okay, thank you.
No, I just want to say they have improved since years ago when all the truck traffic came down Platt Avenue.
All of it, yeah.
Now it comes in right off of Route 9.
No, it doesn't.
It's supposed to.
It's
right?
supposed to, yes.
It is supposed to. We talked about this years ago.
It may be.
Now, maybe a few get through when they're leaving, they come down the Mulberry and North Parsonage, but basically all the truck traffic goes through by where the florist was.
Well, by where Coon Florist
Yeah,
used to be?
yeah, that's why that road is open there, and they allow all the trucks to come in there a couple days before the fair starts.
Okay, for all their events, nobody comes in?
No, not all their events, no, you were talking about the fair, the Dutchess County Fair.
Yeah, well, the fairgrounds in
Right,
general, the
right.
fair is the.
But I mean, they want to be they want to be good neighbors too, so.
Great, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Joanna, I agree. I will talk to them.
Yeah.
And try to, and see what the current plan is, so we're all clear on what the traffic flow is.
Great.
And
Great.
I'll get back.
Because earlier we were discussing the reason, I'm back to this, why Montgomery and Astor had to be repaved first because of the traffic. Well, I ask you to please look at Mulberry and Platt. The traffic, the trucks, it way supersedes the back road behind the hospital. Okay, thank you all.
Does the fairgrounds bring in their calendar through the events code? Do they fill out the events code?
Yeah.
And I know they have the security meetings with.
We approved them, it was early in the year. Do you remember
Right.
that? It was like February.
So
They
these
brought in
kinds
all
of
their
questions
events.
can come up then.
Yeah. No, we don't have to wait till that night. to
Right,
discuss it.
of
But
course.
they did bring everything in at one application.
Okay.
Okay, any other correspondence? Any other public comment, excuse me?
Can I go a bit?
We've been here on that.
I'll be real quick. My name is David Kell, 36 Mulberry Street. I just want to add, I don't consider the fairgrounds good neighbors. I have not documented it, but my feedback from people that I know that have lived there a long time have said in years gone past, the fairgrounds used to allow military personnel, retired or active, more than one day in. And in years gone by, we received a pass, it must be over 6 years ago or 7 years ago, for those in the immediate area who were inconvenienced by the fair to come in one day and get in one day. These things no longer exist. The 4-H club, I'm told, is no longer the milkshake from the 4-H. It's not the milkshake from the 4-H anymore. Things have changed at the fairgrounds, and I don't consider them the world's best neighbors any longer.
I thought that, I was there, I got a 4-H milkshake.
They're saying that it's not 4-H people any longer. It's not, and it's not the same old formula. Yeah, that's changed. They don't really make a note of it, which is okay. Only that, yeah, things have changed, and I don't think they're the world's best neighbors any longer. Maybe they should be reminded that, dig into your pockets a little deeper. We're all hurting, and so is the village. So that's it. Just to
Thank you, David. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to close our regular meeting.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay.